Hello, glad to see you on my channel. I really value it. And today I want to share with you a wonderful story. It's a dramatic story that will come as a total shock to everybody. It is a really amazing story. So enjoy watching it.
Hello, hi Mom. How are you? Harvey asked after getting through to his mother. Hi son, we're fine. My father is still at work, and I just got home and will cook dinner, Selena replied. Oh, I wouldn't mind a hot and home-cooked meal either, replied the son, who hadn't eaten anything home-cooked for a week because his wife was in the hospital. So why don't you come and visit us? I think your father would be glad to have you over, said the mother, inviting Harvey over. No, I can't, and Leslie and the baby are being discharged from the hospital tomorrow, so I'll eat at home. Tomorrow? That's great. We'll finally see our granddaughter, said the woman who has been dreaming about the birth of a granddaughter for several years. Yes, that's why I'm calling. Could you come over tomorrow so we can go as a family? I want to meet Leslie beautifully and drive them and the baby home in comfort, asked Harvey, temporarily left without a car. Okay, we'll stop by. What time do you plan to go to the hospital? The mother asked. Leslie says I should be there by 11 o'clock, so I should leave sometime after 10 o'clock. Great, we'll be free at that time. The main thing is to buy everything today, so that tomorrow you don't have to run around the city looking for flowers and champagne, Selena replied, reminding him of what he needed to buy for his wife's graduation. Well, flowers I understand, but why champagne? You know that Leslie does not drink at my place, asked Harvey, surprised, obviously not knowing the hospital traditions. Fool, and the medical staff, how do you want to thank you? Prepare an envelope, candy, and a bottle, answered Mom, explaining that you cannot go to the maternity hospital empty-handed. I understand. Okay, I'll buy everything, replied the young father, and having finished talking to his mother, ran to the nearest store, then went to a flower store to choose a neat and beautiful bouquet, able to please his wife, who gave him a daughter. Deciding to have a good rest before the big day, Harvey went to bed early. Upon arriving at the birth center, the man called his wife first to let her know that he and his parents were waiting for her downstairs. Harvey wanted to go upstairs, but Leslie said it was not necessary as they had already packed and would be out any minute. Noticing his wife on the threshold of the building, the man with a bag and a bouquet of flowers ran towards his beloved. The midwife, who came out after Leslie with a baby in her arms, congratulated Harvey, who became a young father. After giving the bouquet to his wife and the package to the midwife, the man took his daughter in his arms for the first time and began to look closely at her delicate face and small hands. Looking into the blue eyes of the baby, Harvey seemed to dissolve and drown in them as in the ocean, because she was very similar to Leslie. Let us look at the granddaughter, said Victor, standing a few steps behind his son. God, how beautiful she is, Selena said enthusiastically, seeing her for the first time. That's right, just like me, Victor joked, admiring the little girl. Yes, of course. I think she looks more like me, replied Harvey's mother, looking at her granddaughter's features. Stop arguing. You can see that she is an exact copy of Leslie, said Harvey, stopping arguments between father and mother. Come on, I don't think she looks just like me, Leslie replied, embarrassed. So why are we still here? Everyone was thanked. Our beauties were met. It's time to go home, Victor said, realizing that they couldn't leave their seats for a few minutes, admiring the baby. The father was right. It was time to go. Harvey supported the father and suggesting to go home. Let the women get into the car first, continuing to hold the baby in his arms. Arriving at the driveway of her rented apartment, Leslie was the first to get out of the car to take her daughter into her arms. Thank you for meeting us and giving us a ride home, Leslie said, thanking her husband's parents. You're welcome, Victor replied kindly. Yes, you don't have to thank us, because we wanted to see the baby too. She is magical and we are happy to be grandparents at last. Selena supported her husband's words. How about you come to our house on Saturday? Leslie asked, inviting the parents-in-law to visit. I'm not sure it will work out. I had some other plans, Victor said, remembering the work that he had put off for later several times. I thought that we could gather around the table and spend time together to celebrate the birth of the baby. Besides, I invited my mom and thought we'd be one big family, Leslie replied in frustration, realizing that her father-in-law wanted to decline the invitation. "We'll definitely be there. We'll be there after 3, Selena replied, giving her husband a stern look, as if she was condemning him for trying to find an excuse or a reason not to come. Yes, we will," Victor answered quickly, supporting his wife. Seeing her stern look, he realized that it was better not to argue, and the work should be postponed or done as soon as possible. "That's good. Then on Saturday we are waiting for you at our place," said Leslie, and entrusting her husband with a bag of things, went home with the baby. "Don't be late," said Harvey, and having said goodbye to his parents, hurried after his wife. Once in the apartment, Leslie immediately went to the crib to put the baby and lull her to sleep. As soon as her daughter fell asleep, the young mother hurried to the kitchen to prepare dinner and finally treat her husband to something delicious, hot, and homemade. Having allocated a few minutes in the process of cooking, Leslie called her mom to invite her to visit. "Hey Mom, how are you? What are you doing?" Leslie inquired upon hearing her mother's voice. "Hi daughter. Yes, just recently returned from the station. Now a little rest and I'll go to the kitchen to cook." "And how are you? Still in the hospital?" answered Catherine, from early morning selling homemade baked goods near the railroad station to at least provide for themselves. "No, Harvey took me home already. The baby is resting, and I'm preparing lunch to please my favorite, something delicious," replied her daughter. "That's good, that's right," supported the aspiration of her daughter's mother, who always reminds Leslie that a man needs to pay attention and care. "What are your plans for the weekend?" Leslie asked. "And what plans can I have? I will trade. On Saturday there is usually a capital train. Then I can make a good profit," answered the mother, who knows that on this day she earns several times more than on any other day. "Would you rather come to us? I would like to see my granddaughter, and we are organizing a family dinner," noting the appearance of the baby, said Leslie, inviting her mother to visit. "Well, if such an occasion, I will definitely come," the woman replied, realizing that it is inconvenient to refuse her daughter's invitation. A couple of days later, the first guests begin to appear in Stone's house. Deciding to organize a quiet family evening, Leslie and Harvey invited Aha! And you can also Vasilisa ironically commented on the option of daughter-in-law Selena. "If you don't like Maria, then let it be Natalie." Victor again inserted his 5 kopecks. "Dad, are you sure you know names?" Harvey asked with mockery in his voice, surprised at his father's ideas. "Let's call the baby Ariana." "That's what I wanted to call Leslie, but my husband decided otherwise, and I didn't want to contradict him. Then I conceded. Maybe at least now someone will listen to me," quietly said Catherine, realizing that her option is unlikely to approve. I like it." "Ariana is a good option," said Harvey, supporting the idea of his mother-in-law. "Yes, really like?" Surprised and with a note of disbelief asked Catherine. "Yes, it's really not a bad option," Victor replied, also supporting his mother-in-law's suggestion. "So let's stop at the option of Ariana, or anyone else has any ideas?" asked Leslie, realizing that there are no disputes about this name. "Well, if you don't want to listen to me, you can call it Ariana," answered Selena, who wanted to insist on her option, but realized that no one would support it. "It is decided, so our daughter will be called Ariana," Harvey decided, stopping the discussion. Having discussed less important and significant issues, Victor noticed that it was already late enough and hurrying his wife, reminded that he had a lot of things to do. After saying goodbye to his in-laws, children, and granddaughter, the family left for home. As soon as the parents left, Harvey went to the baby girl to play with her, without disturbing his wife and mother-in-law in the kitchen. Deciding to help her daughter a little, Catherine cleared the table and started washing dishes. Realizing that the first time after the appearance of the child is the most difficult, the woman offered her help. Leslie did not hesitate and gladly accepted her mother's offer, asking her to stay at least a couple of weeks. In the evening, Catherine took care of the baby, bathing Ariana for the first time. The girl was crazy about water procedures and splashed as if she did not want to get out. Having returned the child to Leslie to feed the baby, the newfound grandmother returned to the kitchen and called a neighbor to warn about the long absence and ask her to look after the household. After giving her recommendations and telling her where the house key was hidden, the woman went to the bedroom to talk to her son-in-law and ask if he wanted to have dinner. Discovering that Harvey was hungry, Catherine hurried back to the kitchen to make tea and sandwiches. Woken in the middle of the night by her granddaughter screaming, Catherine hurried to the crib to take the baby in her arms and soothe her before her daughter and son-in-law woke up. Grabbing Ariana and holding her close, the woman went to the kitchen and, closing the door behind her, began to lull the child to sleep, singing lullabies sung by her mother. Having spent with the baby until the morning, Catherine put her granddaughter to bed and, realizing that there was no point in going to bed, returned to the kitchen to prepare breakfast. "Good morning. Why are you up so early?" asked a surprised Harvey, who woke up at 6 in the morning to get ready for work. "Good morning. Ariana didn't sleep well. Then I soothed her, and in general, I'm used to waking up early. Are you going to have breakfast?" my mother-in-law said, offering breakfast. "Yes, I'll take a shower and come back," Harvey replied. "Good, and I'll just make coffee," said Catherine, realizing that her day today will start with strong coffee. A few minutes later, the son-in-law came to the kitchen and, having eaten breakfast, thanked his mother-in-law for delicious and, no less importantly, healthy food. "Thank you, it was delicious. I didn't wake Leslie up. As soon as she wakes up, you can tell her that I'm at a new site today, so I may be late." "Okay, I'll tell her. Good luck in there." "Thank you. I think I'll need her today," Harvey replied, and seeing that it was almost 7 in the morning, hurriedly ran off to work. After washing the dishes and preparing breakfast for Leslie, Catherine went to her daughter's bedroom to wake her up since it was almost 8. "Good morning, Leslie. Wake up. We have a lot to do today," said Mom, gently disturbing her daughter. "Good morning, Mom. 5 more minutes, and I get up," replied the young mother, waking up and getting out of bed, which did not want to. "Well, you are just like in school days," with a smile noted Catherine, continued to insist that Leslie got up. Okay, I'm getting up. I'm sorry, I'm just very tired and realize that there are no less easy days, weeks and months ahead," replied Leslie, realizing that motherhood is not only a new, but also a very responsible stage in her life. "It's okay, you'll get through it, and I'll help wherever possible. I propose to start with breakfast, and then let's go for a walk. Ariana needs fresh air," said Catherine, and, inviting her daughter to the kitchen, went to the crib to check the baby and her diaper. After breakfast, Leslie bathed the baby and changed her diaper, after which they packed up to go to the nearest park for a walk. In the evening, Leslie and Catherine never took a step away from Ariana, enjoying every movement and smile of the baby. Harvey stayed late at work, coming home only close to midnight. Strongly tired at the new facility, the man did not take time for his daughter and went to bed, as in the morning he again needs to work to provide not only for himself and his wife, but also for his newborn daughter. A week later, the doorbell rang in Stone's apartment. Catherine, after putting the baby back in her crib, headed to the door to see who had come to see them. "Hello, who are you to whom?" asked the grandmother, having met on the threshold a pretty woman with a suitcase. "Good morning. My name is Emma. I'm a district nurse," the strange woman replied. "You must be here to see Ariana?" "Yes, I need to check on the baby." "Come in," Catherine replied politely, inviting the woman into the house. Having taken off her outer clothes, the district nurse followed the grandmother to the crib. Seeing the baby girl and asking to transfer her to the changing table, the woman examined the girl and conducted several duty procedures. "Well, all is well?" asked Catherine, worried about the condition of her granddaughter. "Yes, deviations I did not notice. How does she eat? Often wakes up at night?" Emma asked. "She eats great. I have not noticed any special problems. She doesn't wake up much at night, except when she wants a refill." "Hello," greeted the stranger Leslie when she heard voices in the next room. "Hello, I'm your district nurse. My name is Emma," the woman replied, introducing herself as Ariana's mother. "Pleased to meet you," Leslie replied. "Do you do any exercise?" the nurse asked. "Yes, of course." "That's good, but I also recommend it to be outside more often, so that the baby breathes fresh oxygen." "Well, we will certainly listen to your recommendations," replied Catherine, who was just about to go for a walk with her granddaughter. "Good. That this examination is over, I will visit you in a week," replied Emma, and, having said goodbye to the mother and grandmother of the baby, left the apartment. "Are you going for a walk with Ariana, or should I pack?" Leslie asked her mother. "I was just about to go for a walk, so you do the housework and prepare something to eat, and we'll be back in an hour, answered Catherine, and having prepared the stroller, went with the baby to the park near the house. Listening to her mother, Leslie hurried to the kitchen to prepare dinner, and looking out the window, noticed that her mother and Ariana were just coming home. In the evening, Harvey returned from work, and when he heard about the visit of the district nurse, he did not react in any way, for he was very tired at the construction site. After talking to his wife and kissing Ariana, the man went to the kitchen to have dinner after a hard day's work. "Have you been drinking?" Catherine asked, having heard the unpleasant smell of alcohol from his son-in-law. "Yes, allowed himself a couple of shots." "Why?" replied Harvey, not hiding that a little drunk with colleagues in a bar nearby. "Don't you think that's not quite right? There's a small child in the house, and I wouldn't want her breathing that stuff," replied the caring grandmother. "And it seems to me that it's none of your business," sharply replied the man, not wanting to continue the dialogue. "Okay, let it be so," said Catherine, and leaving Harvey in the kitchen, went to her daughter and granddaughter. "How is Harvey? Is he very tired?" Leslie asked her mother. "I think he's already had a rest. You can go to him, and I'll stay with Ariana," said the woman, not wanting to tell about Harvey's rudeness. "Okay," replied Leslie, and leaving the baby to her mother, went to the kitchen to her husband to talk to him and discuss plans for the next weekend. "Well, has your mom had time to complain about me?" Harvey asked, seeing his wife. "What do you mean? What do you mean?" Leslie asked with incomprehension. "I mean that I had a couple of drinks after work. She looked at me as if I had committed some crime," replied the husband. "No, she didn't say anything to me." "Why did you drink?" "You know that my mother has a negative attitude towards it," replied Leslie. "It's none of her business. I do what I think is right." "Better tell me, when will she finally leave?" asked sullen Harvey, tired of his mother-in-law visiting him at home. "I don't know, maybe in a week," answered the wife. "No, I don't like that. Talk to her, so that in a couple of days she will not be here," sharply replied the husband, who was tired of living together with his mother-in-law. "Why would you do that?" "She is helping me with Ariana." Leslie tried to object, defending her mother. "You stay at home, and therefore you have to cope with the child yourself." "No one helped my mom, and it's okay. She was able to bring me up a normal person," continued to bend his line Harvey. The couple did not suspect that Catherine heard all this, as together with the baby went to the bathroom to bathe her granddaughter. Hearing everything from the first to the last word, the woman realized that she was superfluous here and her son-in-law was tired of her presence. Deciding not to create a conflict situation, Catherine realized that she had to leave and as soon as possible. Waking up early in the morning, the woman began to pack her suitcase, putting her things. Hearing a noise in the next room, Leslie woke up and seeing her mother, was very surprised that she was going somewhere without saying a word to her. "Good morning, Ma. Where are you going?" Leslie asked. "Hi, sweetie. The neighbor called, said that she had to leave and look after the house will not be able to, so I need to go back," Catherine replied, realizing that the truth she cannot say. "It's a pity. I thought you would stay with us a little longer," replied her daughter, trying not to remember yesterday's unpleasant conversation with her husband. "I hope so too. But as you can see, the plans have changed. Do not worry. As soon as the opportunity arises, I will come to you again," the woman replied, calming the worried daughter. "Okay, it's a deal. Can you wait until Harvey wakes up and give you a ride to the station?" Leslie asked, trying to help her mother with a heavy bag. No, I shouldn't. I have a train in a couple of hours, so I'll order a cab," replied Catherine, who did not really want to communicate with her son-in-law. Kissing her granddaughter goodbye and hugging Leslie, the woman left the apartment. Having ordered and waited for a cab, she left for the station and having bought a ticket for the nearest train, went to her home. Waking up, Harvey was greatly surprised that his mother-in-law left so quickly, but was even more happy about it, because no one would no longer tell him how to do the right thing and what he did wrong. Continuing to educate his daughter, Leslie does not notice how several months pass. Returning after work, Harvey reminds his wife that in a few days he has a birthday and it would be nice to organize a festive dinner to which he can invite his parents. Listening to her spouse, Leslie promises to prepare everything because she is always happy to have guests and her husband's birthday is a special holiday. Taking some money from Harvey, Leslie combined a walk with the baby and shopping, taking in the supermarket everything necessary for a festive dinner. A couple of days at the stove came to an end, because in a few hours her husband's parents would appear on the doorstep of the apartment. Having picked out a dress for the baby, Leslie heard that her husband came home and not alone, but together with her father and mother. "Hello, darling. Once again, congratulate you on your birthday," said Leslie, meeting on the doorstep of her husband, whom she congratulated in the morning. "Hi. Thank you. We'd arrived a little earlier than planned, but I hope you are ready," he replied. "Yes, of course," replied the wife, and after greeting her husband's parents, she hurried into the kitchen to finish setting the table. "It smells so good, I'm going to go crazy," Victor said once in the kitchen. "I hope you like it," Leslie replied kindly, inviting Victor and Selena to the table. Soon, the culprit of the celebration, who hadn't heard his wife's request to take his daughter with him, also arrived in the kitchen. Excused for a few moments, Leslie picked up Ariana and returned to the kitchen to celebrate her husband's birthday with her family. "Thank you, Leslie. Everything is delicious," Selena remarked, thanking her sister-in-law for the delicious dinner. "You're welcome. I'm very glad you enjoyed it," Leslie replied, a little embarrassed. "Well, shall we say it now or a little later?" Victor asked his wife. "What are you talking about?" Harvey asked, having heard his father's words. Nothing," the man answered fearfully. "Come on, I think we can talk about our decision. Son, my father and I have thought about it and decided that it's time for you to get your own place. You're already an established family with a new addition, so you deserve to live in your own apartment," said Selena, shocking her son and Leslie. "I don't get it. You want to give us an apartment?" Harvey asked in surprise, taking a few seconds to realize all that his mother had said. "Well, not exactly, but you're partly right. My father and I decided that we were of age and didn't need much. We're trading in our 2-bedroom apartment, and hopefully we can get 2 smaller ones." "Oh God, are you kidding?" Almost crying from happiness asked Leslie, not believing that all this is reality. "No, we are serious," Victor answered proudly, seeing the joyful face of his daughter-in-law. "Thank you so much. This is the most generous gift we could never have dreamed of," said Leslie, jumping up from the table to hug her parents. "You've surprised me. It's really an unexpected surprise," Harvey admitted, also thanking his parents for their generous gesture. The next day after the family dinner, the Stones went from words to deeds and, meeting with a realtor, reported their desire. The man turned out to be an acquaintance, so he quickly found several interesting options, allowing them to choose one of them. As a result of the exchange, Victor and Selena moved to the outskirts in a cozy 1-room apartment, and Leslie and Harvey gave a modest 1-bedroom apartment in the city center, in need of a small cosmetic repair. Harvey, a lifelong construction worker, immediately after moving in, assessed the scope of work and made a rough estimate. Settling into the new apartment, the young family began to organize it. Having decided that special attention should be paid to the children's room, Harvey and Leslie set about renovating the room, choosing environmentally safe and natural materials. In just a week, they turned a shabby room into a cozy nest for Ariana, able to please her for many years. Leslie is genuinely happy with the results and, despite the lack of experience in repair, did everything to help her husband and turn dreams into reality, creating not only a beautiful, but also comfortable, practical housing for their daughter. With the first days of summer, Harvey comes home after work completely out of sorts. Noticing this, Leslie did not dare to immediately ask her husband about what happened, and having prepared dinner, poured a shot of white water to Harvey, a little relaxed. Noticing that the spouse picked up and spread in a smile from the delicious food, Leslie decided to talk. As it turned out, Harvey's team was hired to build a country cottage, but he refused because he has a young daughter. "So why did you refuse?" Surprised asked Leslie, not understanding her husband's decision. "And how else? Construction will last at least a couple of months, and maybe more," Harvey replied, explaining the reason for the refusal. "So what? We would perfectly well cope with 2 with a baby," replied the wife, realizing that her husband can make a good profit on the construction of a country cottage. "I do not know. I'm not sure about it, and I cannot so," doubting his decision, replied the man. "Call and agree. It's a great opportunity to earn, and if you are afraid to leave us alone, we can go to my mom. Fresh air is good for Ariana," Especially there is healthy food and delightful nature. So we will be like at a resort, and you will not worry, replied Leslie, finally convincing her husband. Okay, you're right, Harvey replied and took out his phone and started calling his colleague. Wait a minute. Can you say that you'll be a few days late and join them a little later? Leslie asked. Why? You just convinced me to go, and now you're stopping me. You'll go just a little later. In case you haven't forgotten, Ariana is 1 year old the day after tomorrow, and I wanted us to celebrate the day as a family, my wife replied, explaining her request. That's right, I completely forgot. Sorry, of course I will talk and ask for it, Harvey replied, and going out on the balcony, called his partner, informing him that he would go to the construction site, but not with the whole team, but a couple of days later. Meanwhile, Leslie also decided to make a phone call to warn her mom about her decision. Hi, I hope you're still awake, Leslie asked, getting through to her mom. Hi, sweetie. No, I'm making pies for tomorrow, answered Catherine, working on sales from morning till late afternoon. I have good news for you, said the daughter, intrigued grandmother. What is it? The woman inquired. Right after Ariana's birthday, we are coming to your place. Colia's crew has been hired to build a country cottage, so we'll stay with you for a couple of months. I hope you don't mind. I'm all for it. That's wonderful news. Finally, I can play with my granddaughter, answered the happy grandmother, who saw Ariana not as often as she wanted because of the not quite well-formed relationship with her son-in-law. Great. Are you coming over tomorrow or what? I thought maybe I will not come to the celebration, so as not to drive here and there and wait for you at home, cooking something special, asked Catherine, realizing that 2 days in a row on the road for her too hard. Are you sure that would be better? Leslie decided to clarify. Yes, I'll be waiting for you to visit, answered her mother. Good, agreed Leslie, and summarizing the conversation, talked to her husband, telling him about the conversation with her mom. Although Harvey didn't say it openly, he was happy that his mother-in-law wouldn't come because he didn't want to see her, let alone talk to her. Having made a menu and a list of necessary products, Leslie sent her husband to the nearest supermarket to buy everything he needed to prepare dinner. As soon as Harvey left, Leslie was shopping for a baby girl in the bathroom and, using her free minute, decided to call her in-laws to invite them to a family dinner in honor of Ariana's birthday. Hello, Selena. How are you? I hope I'm not interrupting. Hello, Leslie. No, you're not. I'm home now, so I'm fine. Did you want something or did you just miss me? My mother-in-law asked. The day after tomorrow is Ariana's birthday, and we decided to organize a small family dinner. I thought Harvey said that he had to leave for the construction of a cottage in the country, replied the woman who had recently spoken to her son. Yes, that's right, but we thought he'd be gone for a few days. We wanted to invite you to our place and hope that you and Victor Stepanovich will not refuse, said Leslie, inviting her in-laws to visit. Yes, we will definitely come. What time will you wait for us? Selena decided to clarify. Let's come closer to 2. Ariana will just finish her afternoon nap and you can play with her, said Leslie. Okay, agreed. Summarized the conversation mother-in-law. A couple of days later, the Stone family gathered around the festive table, starting the feast with solemn speeches and toasts in honor of the little birthday girl. Ariana did not understand much, but was genuinely happy because she received a bunch of gifts with which to play and have fun. The grandfather and grandmother were happy about her granddaughter's first birthday, so they made not one but several presents, which pleased Ariana, who loved to open boxes in search of something interesting. The next morning after a festive dinner, Harvey, having packed all his things and said goodbye to his wife and daughter, left for a construction site outside the city. Leslie also did not put off the trip in a long box and, after packing her daughter's things, went to the train station to leave to visit her mother. Seeing her daughter and granddaughter on the threshold of the house, Catherine was sincerely happy. Having fed the long-awaited guests, the grandmother did not forget about the birthday and also pleased the little girl with gifts, raising her mood. Every day of summer was interesting for Ariana, full of bright and unexpected events, and from this became special and memorable. The little girl, who grew up in a noisy city, was happy to see flowers, breathing in the fragrance of each of them. Walking with her grandmother, she noticed many big and small animals, some scaring her, and others causing laughter and delight. Ariana especially liked the goats and cows because they were so calm, but at the same time serious. She was even more pleased with her grandmother's red cat named Oliver, who played with her from morning till evening. So unnoticeably passed most of the summer, during which Ariana began to speak more coherently and clearly, which made life easier for both Leslie and her mother. Running around the yard with the cat, the little girl explored the world around her and, noticing bugs and spiders, was not frightened of them, as on the first day, but scrutinized them closely, trying to play with them and help them if they rolled over on their backs. On one of these days, full of bright emotions and children's laughter, Ariana saw a strange woman outside the wicket, gazing at her. Frightened, the little girl ran into the house to tell her mother. Mommy, there's Auntie," said Ariana, pointing her finger outside. "Oh, Cindy, hello. It's been a long time," said Leslie, coming outside and seeing her neighbor. "Hello, Leslie. Is that your big daughter?" the neighbor asked, pointing to the little girl hiding behind her mother's leg. "Yes, this is my Ariana," said Leslie, and taking a step to the side, introduced her daughter to her mom's neighbor. "So pretty, just like her mom," Cindy said with a smile on her face as she admired the blue-eyed little girl with white curly hair. Hearing this, Ariana was embarrassed and hugged her tightly around her neck, asking for her mom's arms. "Don't be afraid, it's Grandma's neighbor. When I was as little as you, she used to play with me all the time," Leslie said, reassuring her daughter, who didn't trust strangers. "Where's Mommy?" the neighbor asked. "Mom's at the station. She'll be there in about an hour," Leslie replied. "Okay, I'll come back later," Cindy replied and went home. A couple of hours later, she visited again and not only met her friend who had returned from the station, but also gave Ariana a small toy to make her feel at ease and earn her trust. Taking the toy, the girl not only thanked the neighbor, hugging her tightly around the neck, but also offered to play with her favorite cat, Oliver. So unnoticeably for Leslie and passed 2 more years of life, which she spent with the child. Realizing that the maternity leave was coming to an end, Leslie turned to the nearest kindergarten to register the baby girl. Having settled all the questions and difficult moments, she decided to get acquainted with the future teacher of Ariana, because this is the person who will spend a lot of time with her, continuing the upbringing of the baby girl. Descending from the principal's office to the first floor, Leslie noticed a short woman of about 50 years old, perfectly matching the description given to her by the principal. "Hello, I'm looking for Casey." Hello. It's me. What do you want?" A nice woman with a pleasant smile. "I registered my daughter in your kindergarten, and I was told that you will be Ariana's teacher. She is a good girl and will not cause any problems, but could you be gentler to her?" asked Leslie, afraid that the girl will be unaccustomed to the new environment. "Don't worry, I have over 20 years of experience, and during this time, no one has ever complained. Rest assured, your daughter is in good hands and no one will hurt her," replied Casey, deciding to reassure the worried mom. "Well, I hope so. If there are any difficulties, you call me," said Leslie, and, taking out of her bag a notebook and pen, left the educator's cell phone number for quick communication. "Yes, it's a deal. You're sorry, but I have to go. There are still a lot of things to do," politely said a nice woman, and saying goodbye to Leslie, went to the other end of the corridor. A few days later, Leslie takes the little girl to the daycare center for the first time, hoping that she will quickly adapt to the new conditions and perhaps be able to make friends. Having told her how to behave, Leslie entrusted Ariana to the teacher, and noticing that the girl does not cry and behaves calmly enough, went to look for a job. Realizing that she had no profile and even less higher education, Leslie immediately discarded interesting and highly paid jobs, focusing on simpler and more modest offers. After calling several numbers and getting to one of the interviews, the young woman was disappointed because she was rejected for various and, it would seem, completely far-fetched reasons. Disappointed and realizing that the day was wasted, Leslie decides to remember that she has a husband and a small child to whom you need to continue to pay attention. On the way home, the woman decided to go to the market to buy fresh food, and having already taken a bag and paid the seller, noticed an ad. One of the owners of the outlets is looking for a part-time vegetable seller. Thinking it was perfect, Leslie decided not to waste any time, and moving away from the counter a little, took out her phone to call the ad. "Hello, I'm on the ad. Do you still need a salesperson?" Leslie asked, dialing the number listed on the ad. "Good afternoon, yes, the information is still up to date." "That's great. When could we meet?" "I'm at the market for another hour, but I don't think you'll make it. Maybe we could meet tomorrow," the owner of the vegetable stand asked. No, I'm at the market now, so I can only come up in a couple of minutes," replied Leslie, realizing that she might miss quite a good workplace. "Oh, even so. Well, then you need to come to the 17 place. I'll be waiting for you," replied a nice and pleasant woman, summarizing the conversation. Having looked around, Leslie approached the nearest salesman and, having oriented herself on the terrain, went to meet her potential employer. Spotting the coveted 17 sign, Leslie saw a pretty woman serving another customer. Waiting until she was free, Leslie was afraid every minute that someone might come or call and take the job right out from under her nose. "Hello again, I called you a few minutes ago," said Leslie, waiting for the right moment. "You're the one who wants to work for me, right?" The woman clarified. "Yes, if that's possible." "My name is Nancy," said the owner of the grocery store. "And I'm Leslie," the young woman replied. "As it was written, I need a part-time employee, so I am ready to consider even a person with no experience," said Nancy, and after getting to know Leslie a little, decided to hire her, realizing that a young mother could use every penny. "Thank you so much. I promise I won't let you down," thanked Leslie, realizing that she couldn't find another job right now. "You're welcome. I think you can go to work tomorrow. I will show you everything quickly, explain. I think that you will not be confused. The work here is not tricky. The main thing is to watch the customers so that no one stole anything." "Okay, I'll do my best," replied Leslie, and remembering that she had to pick up her little girl from kindergarten, said goodbye to her new employer. After picking up Ariana and returning home, Leslie hurried to the kitchen to prepare dinner before her husband got home from work. When she heard the front door slam, she realized that Harvey had already arrived and, having finished preparing the main course, hurried into the hallway to meet her husband and prepare him for the important and, as she thought, pleasant news. "Hi, sweetheart. How are you? Are you tired?" Leslie asked, meeting her husband in the hallway. "Hi, what do you think?" "Tired, of course. I was at work," Harvey replied with a slight reproach to his wife. "I understand. I just cooked dinner there. Let's go to the table," replied the wife, inviting her husband into the kitchen. "Come on, let's go and see what you have prepared." "By the way, I have good news," said Leslie, hoping that her husband will become a little softer and kinder. "What is it?" Harvey asked reluctantly. "I got a job and tomorrow I have my first day of work," said the woman solemnly, hoping that her husband will appreciate her act. "And what will you be working as?" "A vegetable vendor at the market. Not full-time for now, since Ariana goes to kindergarten, but in time I will be able to stand more to increase my income." "Yeah, I thought it would be good," Harvey replied disappointedly. "You shouldn't be so. Now any penny is not superfluous, so that the money will be easier," replied the wife, trying to find understanding in the eyes of her husband. "Well, let it be so. It's up to you," replied the husband, not getting into the desires and attempts of his wife to improve their financial situation. The first working week was not easy, but Leslie gradually began to get used to the conditions and people around her from morning until lunchtime. Most of the salespeople turned out to be very pleasant and interesting people, but there were some who were better to stay away from. The customers were also different. Some smiled sincerely and did not always take the change, while others counted every ruble and looked at Leslie with such contempt, as if she was guilty of something in front of them. Another working day came to an end, and having freed herself, Leslie went to the kindergarten to pick up her daughter. Mommy, Ariana started calling for her mom, tugging on her arm on the way home. "What, daughter? Do you want something?" Leslie asked, trying never to deny her anything. "I wanted to tell you that today I made friends with a girl from my group. Mashka is so funny. We played together with her all day today," said the little girl enthusiastically, which pleased Leslie. "I hope Maria is a good girl and the teacher does not swear at her." Asked the mother to find out how good her daughter has a new friend. "No, she never swears at her. Maria is very nice and helpful, but the boys don't like her," Ariana answered. "Why?" "Because she fights with them if someone tries to pull her pigtails or take away her food during lunch." Fighting is not good, though in general she is doing the right thing, because you have to fight for your own, said Leslie, regretting the last words, as she tries to bring up her daughter, a nice and kind girl. A few months pass, and the kindergarten is preparing for the new year. Trying not to let her daughter down, Leslie prepares a special New Year's costume for the little girl, which she decided to sew herself in order to save money and not to anger her husband, who has been counting every penny lately. Having decided that the costume would be better to lie at home, Leslie took the little girl to the kindergarten, promising that she would bring the outfit closer to the matinee, which begins closer to lunchtime. After entrusting Ariana to the teacher, Leslie ran off to the market with the hope that she would be able to talk to the supervisor and get an early dismissal. When she met Nancy, Leslie didn't have time to say a word to her, as she was a few minutes late, forcing her to serve several customers. After apologizing for her tardiness, Leslie went behind the counter, not expecting New Year's Eve to be a salesperson's hell. In a couple of hours, she had served more customers than she had in the last week. With each passing minute, the woman realized that the chances of getting off early were melting away like snow on a warm palm, but she couldn't disappoint her daughter and was ready for extreme measures just to get to the children's matinee. "Nancy, will you give me 1 minute?" asked Leslie as soon as the owner of the outlet arrived to restock the vegetables. "Make it quick. You see, there are a lot of people today and every minute is worth its weight in gold," replied the supervisor. "I wanted to ask if I could ask to leave a little earlier than usual," Leslie asked, anticipating Nancy's displeasure. "Are you kidding me? It's New Year's Eve. You see how many customers there are today, and you want me to stand behind the counter for you. I understand, I'm sorry, but I have a little girl and she has a matinee today. I promised her I'd bring her costume and see her perform. I promise I'll make it up to her and work more, but not today." Leslie explained her request, hoping her boss would see her point. What an employee. "Okay, go ahead. The child is sacred, but keep in mind that tomorrow you will work a couple hours longer," replied Nancy. "Okay, tomorrow my husband has the day off, so he will pick up his daughter from kindergarten, and I will work longer," agreed Leslie, and after saying goodbye to the boss, ran out of the market, going home to get an outfit for the baby. Noticing that she was running a little late, the woman with the snowflake costume caught a cab and, spending a little, did her best to meet Ariana's expectations. Once at the daycare center, Leslie headed to the little girl's group to help her change into her snowflake costume and repeat a little text one more time before she headed to the stage. Fingers crossed and wishing the little girl luck, Leslie returned to the other parents in the audience, eagerly awaiting her daughter's performance. Santa Claus not only praised Ariana for her expressively told poem, but also gave the little girl a beautiful doll for the most original and beautiful costume. In the evening, Leslie and her daughter return home and, after waiting for Harvey from work, talk about how their day went. The little girl brags about the doll, but the father is very tired and does not show much interest in the toy, paying attention only to the fact that it is a really expensive gift. In the evening, as soon as Ariana fell asleep, Leslie tells her husband that she had to leave early and tomorrow he has to take the little girl to kindergarten and take her home in the afternoon. Harvey is not very pleased with this because he wanted to meet with a colleague and go to the bath, but agreed to give time to his daughter, realizing that this is not a whim of his wife, but a necessity. At the same time, he reminds that in a couple of days New Year's Eve and it would be nice to organize a family dinner. Listening to her husband's opinion, Leslie called both her mother and Harvey's parents, inviting them to her house for the holiday. On December 31st, everyone came to spend time with the family and celebrate the new year, delighting Ariana with new gifts and toys that could create a special holiday atmosphere for her. After the chimes struck, the family headed downtown to watch the fireworks and have fun. Realizing that in the next couple of days there will be no return train, Catherine lingers in the guests, devoting all the time to her granddaughter. Ariana is sincerely happy that her grandmother stayed and visited them and even offers her to live with them, but Catherine explains that this is impossible because she also needs to work. Relations between son-in-law and mother-in-law remain cold, so they try to minimize communication, only saying hello in the morning during breakfast and discussing neutral topics or Ariana's kindergarten. A couple of days later, Catherine, having bought a ticket home, says goodbye to her daughter and granddaughter, returning to her village. New Year's holidays are coming to an end, and Leslie, who received a few days off from her boss, returns to work. Her husband decided to continue his vacation and, due to the lack of normal orders, took a vacation. Taking advantage of this, Leslie entrusts Ariana to her husband to stay at home with her, as the kindergarten has declared a small quarantine. Trying to remember what a caring and attentive father is, Harvey spends all this time with the baby, playing with dolls and all the games Ariana offers him. So imperceptibly for both of them passes a few days without mom, selling at the market. After another day of work, Leslie comes home, and when she meets her husband in the kitchen, she sees that he is in absolutely no mood. "Hi, why are you so sad? What's wrong?" excitedly asked his wife. "Hi, yes, something's wrong. Ariana is behaving strangely, constantly naughty, crying and capricious, refuses to play and eat," complained Harvey to his wife. "Strange, it's not like her at all," Leslie noted in surprise. "And yet it is. If this continues, I'd better go to work, and you yourself here with her, sit with her," said the husband, tired during the day with his daughter more than on the construction site. "I guess you're right about something. I'll have to give Ariana time tomorrow to visit the pediatric clinic." "I don't like it all. I need to check if she's okay," replied the worried mother. Deciding not to put everything in a long box, Leslie called Zinaida Kirilovna and, telling about the behavior and bad mood of her daughter, asked for a couple of hours to go with the baby to the children's clinic. In the morning, mother and daughter went to see the doctor, who after a thorough check reassured Leslie, saying that Ariana has a small cold and there is no reason to worry. After prescribing medication, the doctor asked to keep the little girl at home for a few more days, as she has a weak immune system and it is best to keep her on bed rest. After the treatment and Ariana's recovery, each day Leslie was not much different from the previous one. In the morning and until lunch, she disappeared to the market, then spent time with her daughter and did everything around the house while waiting for her husband, who was always late at work. Another working day was not like the previous ones, because Leslie managed to spoil the mood from the very morning. Having served the next customer, Leslie began to stack the goods, as suddenly noticed that the man was not satisfied with something. "What's wrong?" the vegetable seller asked politely. "Yes, something wrong. You cheated and stole from me," the customer said loudly to get attention. "What are you talking about? I didn't cheat anyone and I sell vegetables honestly," Leslie objected. "You're going to start being rude to me. You think I'm lying? Now I will call the police and you will know how to cheat poor people," continued the man, making a scandal for the whole market. "Man, let me help you." A merchant from a neighboring point offered to help, wanting to resolve the conflict situation. "How can you help me?" the buyer asked incredulously. "Let's check your purchases on my scales. Here, look, they are absolutely serviceable," said the seller, confirming his words with the help of weights with the weight indicated on the side. "Go ahead, check it," the man replied and handed over the bag of groceries. "As you noticed, she didn't weigh you, but she put an extra apple, according to my scales," said the seller, who decided to stand up for Leslie and prove her innocence. "Okay, everything is clear. Give me the package," said the man, and realizing that he made a scandal on an empty place, reluctantly apologized to Leslie, barely holding back tears. As soon as the harmful man left, the seller from the neighboring point calmed down the inexperienced saleswoman, explaining that such things happen here all over the place, so it is necessary to treat such customers more calmly, proving their wrongness visually. Adhering to the advice of the seller, who became not only a neighbor at the outlets, but also a good comrade, Leslie quickly learned to communicate with boorish and something dissatisfied customers trying to find their own benefit. In just a couple of months, she was able to change her character and become less soft, forgetting about such a concept as gullibility. Slowly, the work got better, and Leslie had fewer and fewer problems that required anyone's intervention. One day at the end of the working day, she heard a phone call and, looking in her bag, saw that it was a kindergarten teacher calling her. "Hello, Casey. Is there an emergency?" "Hi, Leslie. I don't know how to say and where to begin, but I have not the most pleasant news for you," the teacher began timidly, trying to find the right words. "What happened?" Leslie asked anxiously, realizing that it was about her daughter. "You see, it happened accidentally. It's nobody's fault, and it happens," Casey tried to justify herself. Can you tell me what happened there? Once again asked the worried Leslie, not hearing the answer to her question. The children were playing in the yard and one of the boys accidentally pushed Ariana. She fell down and lost consciousness, although she did not hit anything, said the teacher, realizing what the mother's reaction would be. I'll be right there, the mother replied, and hanging up the phone, ran to the kindergarten. Meeting with the teacher, Leslie found out that the little girl is in the nurse's office. Hello, what's wrong with my daughter? Leslie asked, seeing the nurse in her office. Don't worry, she's fine. The baby was hit hard during the fall and her nose was bleeding. We've stopped the bleeding now and she's resting on the couch, the nurse said and pointed to Ariana, who was dozing off. Did you call the doctor? Did he examine my daughter? Don't worry, that won't be necessary. We have no reason to panic because this happens all the time in kindergarten. Children's pranks sometimes end up like this, but you should not take it so personally, said the nurse, reassuring Leslie. The woman didn't really want to listen to the nurse's advice, and after taking Ariana home, she went to the hospital the next morning to have a doctor look at her. The doctor confirmed that there was no danger and the little girl had just taken a hard hit during the fall. Time passes and this story seems to be left behind in the past. As Leslie continues to work, she doesn't notice how time passes and her daughter grows up before her eyes. Realizing that another summer is approaching, the woman decides to call her mother to talk to her and tell her the good news. Hi, Mom. How are you? Leslie asked after getting through to her mom. Hi, sweetie. I'm fine. How are you? Catherine answered. We are also all well and I have good news for you. What is it? Ariana's kindergarten is left behind and as I think, she needs to rest a little and gain strength before the first class. How would you feel about us coming to visit you in a couple days? Oh, I'd love to. Come visit, of course, Grandma replied cheerfully, realizing that Leslie wanted to keep Ariana with her for the rest of the summer. A few days later, Leslie arrives in the village with her daughter and spends time with her mother, talking about her work at the market and her husband's success. Realizing that it is time for her to return to the city, Leslie informs Ariana that she is staying with her grandmother. The little girl is genuinely saying goodbye to her daughter and mother. Leslie returns to the city, continuing to work and give her husband all her free time. Grandma, realizing that she has a great responsibility, allows the little girl to rest, enjoying life in the village. At the same time, Catherine realizes that Ariana must be ready for school, so every evening she checks the little girl's knowledge and, noticing her interest in cooking, introduces her to cooking. In just a couple of weeks, Ariana turns into a real helper, able to fulfill any possible request. In her free time, the little girl runs away to a neighbor to look at the rabbits, which Cindy breeds. Catherine sees how Ariana tries to help her in everything. Determined to thank her granddaughter, her grandmother decides to help her get ready for school and earn a little money by selling fruits and vegetables at the railroad station. After harvesting a small crop and preparing it for sale, Catherine goes to her neighbor to talk to her and ask her to look after her granddaughter while she is at the station. Cindy gladly looks after the little girl, as she is a very sweet, kind, and cheerful girl. The woman has no grandchildren of her own, so she treats Ariana with all her heart, letting her play with the rabbits and spoiling her with homemade baked goods. The next morning, the grandmother is again going to the station and, having agreed in advance with the neighbor, calls the little girl to get ready to visit Cindy. Alyanushka, will you sit with Cindy today? Grandma asked. Maybe I'd better stay home. I don't feel well. I don't feel like getting out of bed or going out, she said, complaining of weakness. Do you have any pain? Catherine asked excitedly. No, I just don't want anything, answered Ariana. Noticing that her granddaughter is really sluggish, the grandmother decides not to go anywhere and stays at home. The first half of the day, the little girl practically did not get out of bed, but closer to lunch, she started to run around the yard, which pleased the frightened grandmother. At the same time, Ariana refused lunch and decided to run to Cindy's house to play with the bunnies again. Not a few minutes later, Catherine heard her neighbor screaming. Strongly frightened, the grandmother hurries to the neighbor's yard and sees the little girl, unconscious in the middle of the yard. What's wrong with her? Did she fall? Catherine asked, running up to Ariana and lifted her head. I don't know, I didn't see anything. She seemed to be playing, and then I went out into the yard and saw her on the ground, answered an equally frightened Cindy. Focusing on the little girl, the grandmother and neighbor brought Ariana to her senses. Realizing that something was obviously wrong with her, Cindy decided to call the village paramedic and, leaving her grandmother with her granddaughter, ran to call for help. "How are you feeling? What happened?" Catherine asked Ariana. "I don't know, I was just walking and I got dizzy abruptly," replied the little girl, who was very frightened that she had fainted. A few minutes later, Cindy returned with a paramedic. After examining the girl, the woman didn't notice anything suspicious in Ariana's condition or behavior. The paramedic decided that the little girl had overheated in the sun and the loss of consciousness was the result of heat stroke. After giving her recommendations, the woman left and told them to call her for help if anything like this happened again. "Should we call Leslie and tell her what happened?" Catherine asked her neighbor. "Why? You don't need to do that. Heat stroke is not so terrible, and so you will scare her badly. They'll take her granddaughter away, saying that she didn't look after her," Cindy replied, dissuading her neighbor from making unnecessary phone calls. On the eve of September 1, Harvey and Leslie take Ariana home. Seeing the children off, Catherine gave her daughter an envelope of money, asking her to buy everything she needed for the little girl. Upon arrival home, "Hello. As I understand it, you will be our daughter's first teacher?" Leslie asked, having met the woman gathering around her first graders. "Hello, yes. My name is Nellie," the woman replied, formally introducing herself to one of the parents of her students. "If you have any comments about Ariana or her studies, don't hesitate to speak directly about it," Leslie said, afraid that the little girl would not be able to cope with the load. "I will. You do not worry, I can find an approach to each child, and I am sure that I will not have any problems with your daughter," the teacher reassured the mother, realizing that she is not the first and not the last. The 1st of September was left behind, and as it seemed to Leslie, her daughter was not very satisfied with the first day of school. Realizing that the little girl should be given some time, the woman didn't interrogate her daughter to try to find out if she liked everything, and if not, what exactly. For several weeks, Leslie was focused on work, trying not to let down Nancy, who had placed her trust and the opportunity to earn a little extra money. After another day of work, the woman headed to the school to pick up her baby girl and decided it was a good time to talk to her. "How are you doing at school? Are you doing well? No one hurts you?" Leslie asked, hoping to help her daughter with any problems. "Everything is good. I like studying. No one hurts me." "Oh, so many friends. That's good. What do you know about them?" asked the mother, trying to find out more about her daughter's new friends. "Mickey and I sit at the same desk, and he protects me if someone wants to pull my braid. With Betty, we play ball together in gym class, and Mallory is just a very interesting and funny girl with whom we chat at recess," answered Ariana, telling a little about each of the classmates with whom they were able to make friends. "Friends are good," replied Leslie cheerfully, realizing that her daughter was doing well. On one of the usual weekdays, Leslie comes to school again to pick up her little girl. After waiting for the end of the last lesson, the woman helps her daughter to get ready and tries to find out how her day went. Ariana does not say anything and does not want to tell about what happened today. Leslie is embarrassed by this, but she realizes that anything could have happened at school, and it's quite possible that her daughter will tell her about everything, but a little later. Getting ready to leave the classroom, Leslie meets Antonina Vladimirovna on the threshold, blocking her way. "Hello. We need to talk and preferably do it in private," said the school teacher. "Hello. Okay, let's talk," replied Leslie, and leaving the girl in the classroom, went out with the teacher into the corridor. "I apologize for not talking about the most pleasant things, but I just have to report what happened today," began the class teacher. "Did Ariana do something wrong?" Leslie asked with concern in her voice. No, she is behaving very well. That's not what I mean. Today, Alina was very bad, and when I called her to the blackboard, she got dizzy. The girl almost fainted, and I managed to pick her up at the last moment. I took her to the school nurse, and I think you have something to talk about," said a worried Nellie, realizing that the child has some health problems. After listening to the class teacher, Leslie was scared out of her wits. When she returned to the classroom, she asked Ariana to wait for her for a few more minutes, as she had an urgent matter to attend to. Leaving her daughter in the classroom, Leslie headed to the nurse's office to talk to her and find out what was wrong. "Hello, I'm Ariana's mom, and I was asked to come in." "Hello, my name is Julian," the older woman answered. "So what's going on with my daughter?" "Have a seat. We're going to have a short but serious conversation. Can you say something of substance?" Leslie asked, raising her voice a little, worried about her daughter's health. "Yes, but first I would like to know if Alina has had similar cases before. Did she feel faint or faint?" asked the experienced nurse, who had spent her entire life in medicine. "There was a similar case in kindergarten, but then she was pushed and hit hard," Leslie answered, recalling an incident that happened to her daughter a few years ago. "I don't want to scare you with my assumptions, but it shouldn't be like this. I recommend that you see a doctor, because only after a thorough analysis will it be possible to determine what is wrong." "I hope I'm wrong, but my assumptions scare me," Julian replied, deciding not to speak of her guesses prematurely. Back in the classroom, Leslie picked up her daughter and watched the little girl closely on the way home, asking repeatedly how she was feeling. Ariana felt quite well, was cheerful, which in this situation was a little alarming. Realizing that what had happened during the day was an alarming signal, Leslie decided to call her mother to consult with her. "Ariana almost passed out today. I hope she's okay," Catherine asked worriedly. "Now, yes, but the nurse recommended me to see a doctor and asked if there were any similar cases," replied her daughter. "I did not want to tell you, but in the summer in the village there was a similar case. The paramedics said it was heat stroke, but now I think it was something more serious," the grandmother admitted, realizing that her granddaughter was not quite healthy. After talking to her mother, Leslie was finally convinced that it was worse than she had realized. Waiting for Harvey from work, she told him about everything and asked her husband for some money to visit the clinic and take tests to check her daughter's condition. The next morning, Leslie and Ariana go to the polyclinic to take all the necessary tests. A couple of days later, the doctor calls Leslie and asks her to come to the hospital as he has disappointing results. Badly frightened, Leslie excused herself from work at Nancy's and, putting aside all business, went to the hospital. "Hello, you wanted to see me?" Leslie asked, knocking on the doctor's office and opening the door to peek inside. "Are you Ariana's mom?" a sullen man in a white coat asked. "Yes, that's right." "Sit down, we need to talk," Barry replied, introducing himself as Leslie. "What's wrong with my daughter?" Leslie asked fearfully, realizing that something was obviously wrong. "I won't bother with details and long explanations, as you only need to know the main thing. Your daughter has a severe form of anemia and will need surgery. The sooner it is done, the better, but this operation costs a lot of money." "How much money is needed?" Leslie asked, realizing that she had to raise money for the operation to save her daughter. Having found out the necessary amount, she wanted to leave the doctor's office, but he reminded her that it would be better for the girl to come to the hospital to be under the care of doctors, because over time the symptoms could worsen and it would lead to dire consequences. Frightened, Leslie rushed to school, and after picking up her daughter from class, she drove home to pack and take the little girl to the hospital. Upon returning home, Leslie waited for her husband and, without putting the dialogue on hold, told him about the dialogue with the doctor. After soberly assessing their financial situation, they realized that there was no such money and it was almost impossible to get it. Taking a few moments to pause for thought, Harvey remembered a former colleague with whom they had built a country cottage a few years ago. "Hello, John. Recognize him?" It was Harvey Stone, said Harvey, having reached an old acquaintance. "Hi, yes, of course I recognize him. How are you? How's the family?" John asked. "It's bad, that's why I'm calling. I'm sorry to cut to the chase, but the situation is urgent. My daughter is very sick and needs money for an operation. Is there anything you can do to help with the finances?" "Well, I don't have much money to lend, and the money I do have won't help you. But as they say, I can give you a fishing rod. I am now sent to build a cottage village in Finland, and if you want, you can come with me. The money there is more than decent, so enough for the operation and recovery. I need to think about it. Let me check with my wife and call you back in a few minutes, okay?" "Yes, no problem," John replied, letting Harvey talk to Leslie. After discussing the possibility of earning money, the wife supported her husband and told him to go along with it, as they couldn't waste precious time and had no other ideas. Calling back his friend, Harvey said that he was ready to go with him and agreed in advance on the place and time of the meeting. A couple of days later, the man packs his things and after checking his daughter in the hospital, leaves with a friend to Finland. Meanwhile, Leslie's parents come to Leslie's house to support the heartbroken Leslie. Selena and Victor are warm to their son's wife and are ready to help her in every possible way, and also want to visit their granddaughter to brighten up her stay in the hospital. A couple of weeks later, Harvey sends the first money, which Leslie spends on medicine, food, and other related expenses. "Hi, sweetheart. How are you?" Harvey asked, calling his wife. "Hi, slowly. I went to Ariana's today. How's she feeling?" Not great. The doctors support her and your parents visit her all the time, but she realizes that she's in the hospital for a reason and she's very sad about it. As for her well-being, there is also a disappointing prognosis, Leslie replied disappointedly, hardly holding back her tears. "Calm down. Everything will be fine. In a couple of months, I will send the money. Besides, a friend promised to lend all that he will earn in the meantime. If everything goes well, the next transfer will be enough to cover half of the money needed for treatment. I hope it does. I can't even think about the fact that we won't be able to help her," Leslie replied and burst into tears, realizing that her daughter is very sick. "Don't worry, I will do everything to get her back on her feet," Harvey replied, supporting his spouse. Continuing to call daily, Harvey promised his wife that he would soon transfer the money needed for the operation. Gradually, the calls became shorter and shorter, and eventually the husband began to call less and less often, explaining that he was very busy at work. A couple of months passed, but Harvey did not transfer the salary. Worried about the condition of her daughter, Leslie called her husband, but his phone was turned off. The woman tried to call Harvey for a few more days, but he never got in touch. "Hello, Selena. Harvey did not call you?" Leslie asked, calling her husband's parents. "Hello, Leslie. No, we haven't talked to him for a week," answered her mother-in-law. "It's strange. He promised to transfer the money and he doesn't contact," answered the worried Leslie. Realizing that her parents knew nothing, she continued to look for a way to contact her husband. Finding John's number in her contact list, Leslie called her husband's friend. "Hello, John. This is Leslie Stone. Is my husband there by any chance next to you?" "Hi, no, we haven't seen him in a week," John answered. "What do you mean? Don't you two work at the same facility? You don't know anything?" the man asked in surprise. "What do you mean? What do you mean?" Leslie asked, not knowing what he was talking about. "Your husband has another woman and they have been living together for a month. The construction ended a week ago, but he decided to stay here." Shocked, Leslie hung up the phone without answering a word. She did not expect such a betrayal from her husband and realized that there would be no money for the operation. The next morning, having gathered her thoughts and calmed down a bit, Leslie goes to the hospital to talk to the doctor and tell him about the situation. "Hello, Barry. We need to talk." "Hello, Leslie. Is something wrong? Your face is completely gone." "The thing is, my husband promised me money and went to work in another country. I thought something was wrong, but it turns out he just found someone else. I don't know how to find money for the operation," Leslie replied, telling me everything that had happened recently. "That's awful. What about the surgery now?" the doctor asked. "I don't know. Help me, please," Leslie replied pathetically, begging Barry to do something to help her. "Well, I'll try to find a way to do the operation for free. Come and see me in a couple of days and I'll try to work it out in the meantime." "Thank you very much. I'm counting on you very much," Leslie replied, and without taking time away from the doctor, went to her daughter's room to check on the baby. Hardly coping with work, Leslie cannot stop thinking about the betrayal of her husband and thinks about where to find the money for the operation. Returning home, she hears the phone ringing and grabbing the phone, sees that her husband is calling her. "Hello, I take it you already know everything," said Harvey, talking to his friend. "Well, hello. Yes, John told me everything. How could you do that?" Leslie asked, hoping her husband would explain what he'd done. "I'm sorry, but I found a beautiful woman with whom I fell in love and decided to start a new family. We'll be back home in a couple months, so get out of the apartment. Are you kicking me out? No, I'm giving you time and opportunity to find another place to live. What about our daughter? I'm sorry, but I have other things on my mind right now. I'm divorcing you, so I do not want to discuss anything else, Harvey replied, and not wanting to continue the conversation, hung up the phone. Crying, Leslie felt cheated and betrayed. Unable to hold it in, she decided to call her husband's parents to tell them about the last conversation with Harvey. Hello, Selena. Your son left me. He found another woman and wants to file for divorce. Leslie, are you serious? Interrogated mother-in-law, not believing that such a thing is really possible. Yes, he called me and said that between us everything is over and gave me 2 months to get out of the apartment. Forgive me and my husband for raising such an irresponsible son, said Selena, realizing that she had made a mistake in raising Harvey. It's not your fault. Apparently he just never loved me, replied Leslie, who did not think that his parents were guilty of anything. Don't worry, Victor and I won't turn our backs on you. Ariana is our granddaughter and we love you and will never leave you, replied the woman, calming the crying wife of her son. Thank you. Harvey promised money for Ariana's surgery and now it's gone and I don't know how to cure her. We would love to help financially, but my husband and I don't have that kind of savings, and we can't sell our son's apartment because we deeded it to him. It's okay, I understand. Can we visit our granddaughter? Selena asked, not knowing how Leslie would treat them after what had happened. Yes, of course, because she is your granddaughter and I dare not interfere with your communication, replied Leslie. The next morning, the woman in upset feelings goes to the hospital to meet again and talk to the doctor. Hello, Barry. I hope you can do something to please me. Leslie asked, expecting that the doctor had found an opportunity to perform the operation for free. Hello. Unfortunately, I didn't get anything. For the operation, we'll have to pay because it is a very complex procedure, which does not fall neither under the benefit programs nor under the sphere of influence of patrons. Having heard this, Leslie, without saying a word, left the doctor's office and went outside to breathe a breath of fresh air. I don't have that kind of money, she muttered and cried as she walked out of the hospital. It was the last chance to save her daughter, but she was gone too. Hello, why are you crying? Asked a homeless man who came up to the crying Leslie. Hello. Oh, I can't tell you in 2 words. I'm in no hurry, so I'm ready to listen to you, muttered a man with light gray hair, whose eyes showed that he was concerned about Leslie's mood. My daughter is very sick. She has a severe form of anemia. She needs surgery to save her. My husband promised to earn money, but having gone abroad, found himself another woman and left us. There is no hope of saving my daughter anymore, Leslie said and began to cry even harder. Do not cry. I'm sure that not everything is not so bad, because in addition to conventional doctors, there are other areas of medicine that can help your daughter without surgery. Are you some kind of sorcerer or something? Leslie asked incredulously, not understanding what the stranger was talking about. No, I am Austin, a simple man who knows how to cure such a disease. I'm sure I could help your daughter, but I don't know if you would approve of my methods. What methods? You see, my methods are unconventional and unrecognized by the medical profession. Many people consider it a pseudoscience and do not believe in the healing properties of plants. But I am convinced that nature hides an incredible power that can cure us of any disease. Can you really help my daughter? Asked a desperate Leslie, who decided to grab the last hope. I think so, answered the homeless man, who sincerely wanted to help the poor woman. Okay, I'll do it. What's it gonna take? You see, I'm a homeless man and I have nowhere to live or treat your little girl. It would be good to settle the matter, replied Austin confusedly. Wait a minute, replied Leslie, and taking a few steps aside, called her mother to tell her what had happened. After listening to the situation, Catherine not only understood her daughter, but also suggested that everyone move to her village because the house is big and there is enough space for everyone. Having finished talking to her, okay, but only for a little while since we're leaving, Leslie replied, accepting the invitation. After letting the grandparents play with their granddaughter, Leslie gave her husband's parents the keys to his apartment and seeing that it was time for her to leave, said goodbye to Victor and Selena, telling them that they were leaving for the country. Leslie doesn't mind her husband's parents socializing with their daughter and invites her to the village, but a little later, because Ariana will soon be undergoing treatment. Having met Austin near the hospital, Leslie ordered a cab to the train station and, having bought 3 tickets, went with her daughter and the healer to the village to her mother. "Hello, my name is Austin. Glad to meet you," said the homeless man, having met Leslie's mother. "Hello, it's mutual. My name is Catherine." The woman answered kindly and invited everyone into the house, having allocated a separate room for the healer. From the next morning, Austin took care of the little girl, thoroughly studying her and determining her condition. Having developed a treatment scheme and started the process of Ariana's recovery, the man immediately warned her mother and grandmother that the treatment process would be complicated and lengthy. At the same time, he convinced them that he knew how, and no less importantly, that he would be able to help the little girl because she had a young and strong body that could cope with this disease. Continuing to spend all of this time with the girl, Austin grows closer not only to her, but also to Leslie and her mom. In the evenings, after Leslie puts the baby girl to bed, they socialize in the kitchen, drinking tea and discussing the treatment process. Realizing that the women don't fully trust him, on one of these evenings, Austin decided to tell this story and explain why he became homeless. "Don't be afraid. I'm not a quack. It's just life," he began. "We trust you and count on you. What went wrong in your life?" Catherine asked, interested in Austin's past. "Once I had everything. A great job as a surgeon in a regional hospital, a beautiful wife, and a wonderful son. But in one moment I lost it all." "What happened? If it's not a secret, I think you and Ariana should go into town and try to get tested again," Austin said during one of the tea parties. "I can see that she is much better, but do you really think she has recovered and the disease has receded?" Leslie asked. "The test will tell you more precisely, but I think that all the worst is over," answered the man who had changed a lot during this year. Constantly taking care of himself, the man became more neat and even younger visually. The only thing that gave away his age was the light gray hair that had crept into his beard and temples. "Good, we'll go to town tomorrow," Leslie said cheerfully, hoping Austin was right. In the morning, having packed all the necessary things, Leslie and her daughter left for town. Meanwhile, Catherine stayed on the farm and began to fiddle with the stove to prepare a delicious dinner for the return of her daughter and granddaughter. At some point, the woman noticed that Austin was acting strangely and as if he was very nervous. "Did you want something? Can I make you some tea or a sandwich?" Catherine asked politely. No, I don't need anything. I just wanted to talk to you, but I can't make up my mind," Austin said, embarrassed. "So let's talk while we are alone at home and no one disturbs us. I must confess that during this year I have grown very attached not only to Ariana, but also to your family. You become my nearest and dearest, and I've realized that I don't want to leave you for one more reason." "And what is this reason?" Catherine decided to clarify. "I like you very much," the man replied, looking at the woman directly in the eyes. "I also like you very much. Just this year, all my thoughts were busy with my daughter and granddaughter, and I chased away from myself warm feelings towards you," timidly replied the woman, admitting that their feelings are mutual. When they arrived in the city, Leslie and her daughter immediately went to the hospital and, meeting Barry, took a referral for tests. Having passed all the necessary procedures, they returned home. A couple of days later, the doctor calls Leslie and, with surprise in his voice, says that the baby is absolutely healthy. Hearing this, Leslie can't hold back tears of joy and rushes to her mom and Austin to share this joyful news. Running into the kitchen, she hugs the healer. "Thank you so much for saving my daughter. I owe you a debt of gratitude," said Leslie, not letting go of Austin. "What debts can we talk about when I did it for the people I care about?" the man replied. Not expecting to hear something like that, Leslie glanced questioningly at her mother and saw her blush and lower her eyes. "Mom, maybe there's something I don't know," Leslie asked. "We have good news for you two. Your mom and I have grown very attached and fond of each other," Austin said. "We have decided to live together as a family. I hope you don't mind," asked her mother, looking at Leslie. "How could I be against it? If Austin saved the life of the most precious and beloved person in the world, my Ariana," answered Leslie, hugging her daughter, who ran into the kitchen, and a happy tear rolled down her cheek. "Hey, wake up! Stop sleeping already. I'm talking to you." A bright light hit my eyes. Well, no, it's the day off. What does she want again? Max reluctantly opened his eyes and squinted against the bright rays that filled every corner of the bedroom. You promised you'd help around the house today, his mother barked. She looked a little better today than yesterday. Her face not as pale, her eyes had regained their natural hue. Mother had been sick for a long time, so there were few good days in her life. Okay, Max reached up and threw off the blanket, just a little. You're a pain in the ass with your chores. Stop it. If you'd done something useful at home without me reminding you, I'd be quiet. That's it, Mom. I'm up, okay? The Stone family lived in a small private home. Max's mother, Catherine, an orphan, had moved to Landers 10 years ago. Her husband had long ago left his wife and son and started a new family. Ekaterina grieved for a long time and could not watch her ex wooing his new fling and reverently treating his newborn daughter. One day, on a cold fall evening, she met him at a local store. The man was buying milk. I see that you are doing well. You have money and your wife loves you. You've got a daughter, but we're at home without a piece of bread. I can't find a job at all. Can you give me some money? The man thought for a while and replied with his eyes downcast. I can't. I bought some milk with the last of it. You're a miser. How can the earth bear such people? You feed one child, so you forget about the other one. Damn you and your new family, you won't live happily with them. If Catherine then guessed what energy carried her words, thrown with grief. Indeed, little Max grew quickly and constantly wanted to eat. It was necessary to take care of a warm jacket and boots for the child, because it was already November, and the boy still wore a thin windbreaker and light boots. Where to get money? There was little work in a provincial town. There was only one thing left, to try to beg money from her ex-husband. But he turned out to be the last goat. Catherine had only to risk. Gathering all the strength in her patience, she decided to move to the village under the colorful and unremarkable name Landers. There just opened a dairy factory. It needed workers. It is impossible to describe how difficult it was for the little family to get used to the new place. Kind people managed to get the local administration to provide the young woman and her son with a small dilapidated shack on the outskirts of the village. The village women helped Ekaterina to tidy up the house. They painted the windows and doors and whitewashed the walls. The men repaired the ancient bed with springs and the old chest of drawers. Catherine was now able to live poorly. The woman was quickly employed as a cleaner at the factory and life was slowly getting better. A few years later, Catherine learned from acquaintances in her native village that her ex-husband had divorced his new wife and died under unknown circumstances. The autopsy did not find the cause of death. The woman then thought that it was just a coincidence or the boomerang principle. But it wasn't like that. Her son's voice brought the woman out of her painful memories. Ma'am, and what's for breakfast? Catherine sighed and went to the kitchen to warm yesterday's food in the microwave. The family was not very poor, but not lavish either. Max had never once in his life tasted exotic fruits, expensive chocolate, caviar. But he knew hundreds of dishes made of potatoes, carrots, and lard. A simple life, modest demands. Max's mother didn't spoil her son. Even on holidays, she bought the most necessary products and filled the refrigerator with them. The rest of her paycheck was hidden in her dresser drawer in old underwear. She knew what it was like to go through hard times without money. While her son ate fried potatoes and salad, the woman started her household chores. She thoroughly checked the refrigerator, cleaned it of spoiled food. Then she decided to clean up the old shed in the yard. The woman put on her coat and went outside. January, but there wasn't even a hint that it was winter outside. Landers village was soaking wet in the pouring rain. I'll have to look for rubber boots. You can't walk through the village that easily now. It's all muddy, Catherine thought and wrinkled her nose. She did not like neither winter nor autumn for such weather. But what could be done? One must work, move. Despite the constant migraines, the woman always worked tirelessly. Son, the mother closed her eyes tiredly. Everything is fine again. I told you that uncle was a liar. He was too stubborn to insist on a second examination. He took so much money out of us. Max, stop fighting. You promised to help me around the house. Mop the floors and bring fresh water from the well. I'll go to the store. The son looked at his mother in surprise. You can barely stand on your feet. I need some fresh air. And in general, eggs do not teach the chicken. She hurriedly packed, took her purse, and left the house. The rain had already ended, and the road turned into a muddy mess. But Catherine did not pay attention to this unpleasant fact. She enjoyed breathing in the humid air and needed rubber boots, black mush underfoot. The woman found the boots in the shed. She rejoiced at the find, as if a pair of old galoshes could save the world, or Catherine, from doing time in four walls. The store Jubilee was a place where those who had nothing to do at home gathered. Lovers of gossip and gossip, alcoholics, asking for a loan for a bottle, kids, looking with great respect at the alkies. Near the store was always noisy and cheerful. Ekaterina looked at the crowd. Today she, strange, nowhere to be found. Where did that old woman disappear to? You must be looking for Kathy. She's not here, the old man mumbled through his toothless mouth. Where is she, Harry? I need to ask her something. Oh, she's at the wake. She won't miss a meal. She's just looking for a free meal. How could I forget? Catherine reproached herself. Today is also the day to remember Julia, a neighbor and good friend of Kathy's. 9 days. Thank you, Harry. I'll go. Listen, Granddad's a bit slow. Have you got a spare penny for bread? Oh, Harry, I know what kind of bread you want. I'd rather give it to the kids for candy. Stop drinking. Grandpa's got a hurt look on his face. I knew you were a cheapskate. You hide all your money in your stocking. Everyone at the factory earns good money. Only you, like a homeless woman walking around. Catherine waved Harry away as from an annoying fly and wandered towards the courtyard where the wake was to be held. She had completely forgotten that she still had to go to the store. Julia's yard was like a beehive today, though it was usually quiet, with the old woman occasionally going outside to talk to her neighbors. Almost the whole village had gathered to remember the good old woman. Julia was an excellent teacher in the local school. She was loved by all adults and children. There was no place to step foot in the house. The sharp smell of wax, mop floors, food, and vodka hit Catherine's nose. Across the long corridor stretched a string of wooden tables covered with cheap cloth tablecloths. There was nothing on the tables anymore. People, merry and drunk, were arguing loudly about who would get the deceased house. Catherine wrinkled unpleasantly at the sight. Finally, in the farthest and darkest corner, she found Kathy. The old woman was sitting hunched over, humming a sad song to herself. Catherine cautiously called out to her. Kathy stirred and raised her watery eyes to the woman. I know why you've come. I've been waiting here for you, she whispered, unexpectedly to Catherine. Help me, the woman whispered, almost crying. You're looking for a witch, Katie said affirmatively. Only your visit to her will not bring you what you expect. Think carefully. A witch always reveals her cards to you. She reads your whole life. When you die, when you marry, how many children you'll have. She'll tell you the bitter truth too. She won't lie. But do we need this truth? I went to see her and now I hate myself. What happened? Catherine asked cautiously. She told me the whole truth about my death and about the death of my children. She saw that my children will go to the other world before me. The old woman closed her eyes and sobbed with a groan. Catherine from horror froze on the spot. I need it very badly. I do not know what kind of illness I have. I'm desperate. Maybe the witch will tell me. She will, and she'll tell you things you won't be happy about. All right. Since you decided, I'll tell you where she lives. It's gonna be a long, long walk. Do you know where the abandoned brick factory? Catherine nodded. She remembered that building. It was the first one the woman had seen when she first arrived in Landers. So Kathy continued, you'll pass the building, turn right. From there, the road turns into a path. You go straight down the path. Don't turn around. This path leads deep into the woods. That's where the witch lives. She used to live in the village, but the locals, having learned about her evil and dark deeds, decided to set fire to the old woman's house. So she moved into the forest. Katie was silent. She closed her eyes again. Catherine thought she was dozing off. Thank you very much, the woman replied quietly and hurried out the door. The house was stuffy. Her head ached again. Dark shadows flashed before her eyes. Catherine sat down on the bench. Get out of my sight. Enough. I want to live in peace. Ghostly images, rapidly flickering in front of her eyes, had long interfered with life. It seemed as if an unknown force had invaded his head and was trying to command his body. Max had been scared out of his wits when his mother decided to leave for the store on her own after another migraine attack. He gave the woman a look and decided to do some cleaning. Everyone in the village called Max the White Crow. The boy stood out because he didn't socialize with anyone and stayed away from his classmates. Max was an introvert, often withdrew into himself, and did not want to let outsiders into his life. It was this characteristic that prevented the guy from building relationships and getting to know new people. Max had a secret sympathy in the class, the leader of the team and the most beautiful girl in the school, Angelica. True, she did not reciprocate Max and, like everyone in the class, considered him strange. The girl used her beauty and gathered crowds of young fans. Max secretly envied all the good-looking guys of the school for the fact that they could talk to her calmly, throw modern jokes. That's okay. Here I'll study, get into a prestigious university, and get a good job. Girls have always loved money and wealth. Angelica will bite me like a fish on the bait, dreamed the young man. Indeed, the boy recently began to study on excellent, often took part in Olympiads, but the team stubbornly did not want to accept him. Once at recess, classmate Victoria approached Max and sarcastically grinned. "Listen, there is such news about your mom. They say that she is crazy on the whole head. Is that true?" "Get off, Victoria." Max shrank into a lump, and without you there is something to do. "So it's true if there's nothing to answer," Victoria blurted out and laughed. "It'll be fun when I tell everyone about it." Max clenched his teeth and hissed, punching a notebook page with his pen. "Listen, Victoria, what do you want?" "Nothing." The girl showed her tongue, turned around and ran down the hall. What a goat. She'll tell everyone now. After all, just like her mother is the first gossip in the village, thought Max bitterly. He packed his things, notebooks and books. There was no desire to study. He wanted to run home, find a dark corner and cower in it, to hear no one and nothing, turn to stone. On his way out of the school, the boy noticed a bunch of cackling students. They were pointing fingers at Max and yelling. They were videotaping what was going on. "Hey, White Crow, come here," yelled the tallest and fattest among them, John. Max hated him for his brash nature and sharp tongue. "Well, looking straight into the daredevil's eyes," Max replied. "Is it true that your mom is that? Well, we'll soon go to a mental institution." "No," firmly threw the guy. "In general, it's none of your business." "Got it." "Oh, what a tsatsa," grumbled John and played with his muscles. "No one talks to me so brazenly." "Who do you think you are, you worm? I could crush you with one hand." "Try it," Max replied. The soul has long ago flowed into the heels, but the guy stubbornly tried not to show his condition. "I can also fight." The classmates looked at each other, and someone giggled in disbelief. Max saw from the sidelines that Angelica was here too. "Well, what's the matter?" He thought to himself sullenly and clenched his skinny fists. You can't show your cowardice in front of the main love of your life. What happened next, Max still does not remember. Only pain and resentment. 3 strong and healthy guys against a skinny nerd. What else is there to think about? Then Max spent a very long time in the local ancient hospital. The parents of the offenders tearfully begged his mother not to file a report at the children's police station. And only a thick wad of money from Boris' father resolved the whole situation. Mother just needed an impressive sum for further examination. Max didn't speak to her for a long time. Then he withdrew into himself. Only after a week, he led his mother near him and gave her a chance to explain everything. Max, even after this deplorable case, continued to be called a black sheep, but now he had made friends against Boris and his evil company of insolence. Angelica still did not pay any attention to the guy. One day he himself decided to approach the girl at recess. Here, he handed her a small bar of chocolate. Angelica rounded her eyes and looked at the guy questioningly. "What's that for? Did you put needles in it?" "No, I just wanted to make someone happy." Angelica grinned and showed the guy her white teeth. "Why don't you go over to that one, Stinky? She likes candy. I don't eat sweets." Stinky was a girl whose weight had long ago exceeded 70 kilograms. Max froze at the unexpected turn of events. You'll see, you'll be with me all your life. Your friends will envy me. He didn't wait for an answer, quickly turned around and ran. He ran for a long time until he saw his own wicket. Max ran into the house, threw the heavy backpack off his shoulders, and fell face down on the bed. How annoying everything was. This poverty, the mother, her unknown illness, or was it his own delusional fabrications to draw more attention to himself? Max woke up to the banging of the front door. The boy had long since cleaned the house and now sat at the table, rubbing the wrapper of that ill-fated chocolate bar in his hands. Son, the woman smiled when she saw the order and cleanliness. I did not expect. You're a good boy. Listen, I wanted to go to the store for groceries, but I never got there. Go please. Get some milk, bread, eggs, and something for yourself. Max frowned, but took his purse and quickly went out the door. The weather was improving. It would be evening with sunshine and no clouds. He walked along the road, sometimes jumping over huge puddles, which very soon were destined to freeze. Catherine had not in vain asked her son to go to the store. She waited until he disappeared, put on boots and a warm jacket. In the linen closet found an envelope full of bills. She counted out a few papers, rolled them into a two, and carefully put them in her pocket. Maybe that old woman would ask for payment. She took a piece of paper and carelessly scribbled the words, "Son, I've decided to go to Leslie's house. Don't worry, I'm fine. I'll be there at night. So go to bed and don't wait up for me. Make some scrambled eggs for dinner. Love you." Catherine put the note on the nightstand beside her son's bed and hurriedly dressed. I'll go, maybe the witch will tell me what ailment is troubling my head, thought the woman. The journey was long and dangerous. It was said that the late owner of the brickyard suspected his wife of jealousy. One day he caught her with another man in his bedroom. The man couldn't get over the cheating. He killed them immediately and hid the bodies in his factory. 6 months later, the owner took his own life. He saw the ghosts of his dead wife and lover everywhere. Rumor has it that the souls of the undead still roamed the factory and scare stalkers who accidentally wandered into the abandoned building. Ekaterina didn't really believe in this story, but still, as the woman approached the factory, her heart was not at ease. "Turn right," echoed Kathy's words. An old, nettled path beckoned into the forest thicket. The woman sighed and followed the path. The desire to get rid of the incomprehensible headache and migraine was above all fears and phobias. "Well, witch, meet me," said Catherine to herself, seeing in the distance a dilapidated hut. The place where the dark witch lived, banished from the village, was truly mystical. It was cold, mossy, and damp. It seemed that even the most ordinary stone could come to life here. There was a pungent fog in the air, so the woman could not see the area well. Suddenly her head exploded with wild pain. Catherine groaned loudly, fell to her knees. In her head, as always, multicolored lights, figures, shadows flashed. But now there was another shadow among them, the biggest and tallest. It was as if my brain was being slowly fried in the frying pan of hell. "Well, hello, little girl," sounded above Catherine's head rough female voice. "I've been waiting for you here for a long time." Catherine tried to lift her head, but in vain. She was bound by a new wave of pain. The woman groaned and fell on the damp grass, completely exhausted. Suddenly, someone's warm palm laid on her head, and miraculously, the pain gradually began to go away. Muscles relaxed, and Catherine breathed a sigh of relief. "Who are you? How did you do it?" "My daughter, you still do not know a lot about yourself, but it's good that you've come now. Now I can tell you everything." "What? What do you mean? I don't understand." Quietly muttered the old woman, "Give me your hand, I'll help you up. Don't be afraid of me. You're shaking. Poor thing. Come to my house. I'll give you some healing tea." Catherine looked incredulously at the vague figure of the witch. "I told you not to be afraid of me. You should be afraid of those who live in the village and spread evil rumors." When they entered the hut, Catherine was surprised. In the house reigned the usual, classic for a villager, the interior. In the tiny hallway rack with clothes, then a small living room. In the living room, there was a dilapidated sofa, a table, a black and white TV set, and flowers in various pots on the windows. Nothing special. The only difference Catherine noticed was the lack of icons. In Landers, every villager had icons, decorated with embroidered rushniki, flowers, and lamps. And here there were empty corners. Well, that's nothing new. Why would a godless woman need icons? Thought Catherine. Meanwhile, the witch went into the kitchen and rattled something there. A few minutes later, she came out with a large mug in her hands. The mug exuded a very appetizing odor. Did you look around? See, I don't have what you thought I had. I don't need all this stuff. It's all here. She pointed her finger at her head. Then why were you called the witch? The old woman wrinkled her forehead and answered quietly, ordinary people don't like white crows. But you, I think, know what I mean. Catherine nodded. Take it, drink your tea. Don't be afraid I don't want to poison you. It will become much easier. There are herbs that I collect in the forest. The woman hesitantly took the mug and took one small sip. The liquid immediately spread to the stomach and warmth enveloped it. Catherine greedily sipped some more. Well, not so much headache, asked the witch. Yes, excuse me, what's your name? Well, for real. Glafira. I don't remember when anyone ever wanted to call me by my real name. People from the village come to see me secretly, but they all call me witch. But I'm not angry, I'm used to it. Catherine drank tea and looked curiously at the old woman. Gray hair gathered in a neat bundle at the back of the head, gray, like the autumn sky, eyes and lips. Her face, arms, and neck were riddled with deep wrinkles. Glafira, I come to see you. I know I told you. The old woman interrupted her. You have headaches, shadows in your eyes. It's not a disease, daughter. It's your destiny. What do you mean? Catherine asked me with a surprised, rounded mouth. She had already finished her tea and visibly relaxed. The healing drink of herbs helped. You are a hereditary witch, dumbfounded her old woman, not in the first generation. Don't look for doctors and witch doctors anymore. Your headache is not from illness. It's your gift. What are you talking about? Catherine shrieked. She stood up abruptly and wanted to go to the exit. You can, of course, now leave, my daughter, sounded behind me a quiet voice. But your departure will not change anything in life. You have to accept yourself as you are. I will help you. I know how to make migraines disappear forever. Catherine stopped, paused, and turned to Glafira. You are delirious, she whispered. What kind of witch am I? I don't even know my parents. But I do, muttered the old woman. She walked over to the woman and took her hands. I know where they are. Your grandmother is dead, but your mother is alive. Believe me, and your life will change for the better. Do you really want your son to suffer the rest of his life because you're suffering? It was an irrefutable argument to stay at Glafira's place and listen to the end. Catherine loved Max very much and knew that he was worried about her. Okay, I'll listen to you, she said quietly. That's good for you. I knew that you are not stupid. Glafira said cheerfully and offered the woman to sit at the round table. I'm going to talk now. You listen carefully and memorize. On what you learn depends not only on your life, but also the happiness of your son. Catherine nodded and crossed her arms on her chest, ready to listen. A long time ago, when I was still young, your mother, Veronica, and I were firm friends. We met in the capital when we entered the same faculty. I knew about my gift then, but she had no idea. When the time came, I explained to her why she suffers from continuous headaches and sees things that ordinary people cannot see. At first, Veronica didn't believe me and even stopped communicating with me. She's stubborn, but one incident made her doubt herself. A classmate dreamed to her, completely bloodied and begging for help. Veronica woke up in wet sweat and tears. The next morning, we all found out that Carlos, our friend from the course, had crashed to death in the night. That's when my friend told me about her dream. I let her know once again that your mother has a gift and it must be used. We reconciled, became closer, supported each other. Young girls often came to visit us, until one evening an uninvited guest came. Glafira was silent. What kind of guest? Catherine exclaimed. The story the witch was telling was more like a legend, but not the truth. But the thought that her mother might be alive warmed her soul and curiosity took over. The woman, she was inconsolable, said she wanted me to cast a spell on her rival, her fiancé's mistress. They were getting married, but the guy obviously liked to go out. I, of course, refused. Veronica and I did not practice evil magic at that time. We believed in the boomerang principle. The woman cried and said that she would give everything valuable that she had. Only I must remove my rival. She laid out all of her jewelry on the table. Among them was one very remarkable ring, thin, dainty, with an exquisite ruby in the middle, but something repulsed me at the sight of it. When I took the ring in my hands and twirled it, I had a vision. The ring fulfills all my wishes. I am the happiest woman on earth. And next to me is Anthony, my fiancé. He was dating your mother at the time. Apparently, I was seduced by an evil force, but I promised to put a spell on the groom's mistress in exchange for one single ruby ring. The woman was over the moon. She gladly agreed, and I began the initial stage of the ritual that evening. You should have seen me when I found out the spell had worked. The girl disappeared a week after the ritual was completed and still hasn't been found. You were scared? Asked Catherine, sighing convulsively. What a story. Of course I was. I was too young then to know about such terrible consequences of spoiling. I thought that just the groom will fall out of love with the girl, but it was not so. The guy burned before his eyes like a candle. He was longing for the other one. So that woman, instead of love, got only grief. Since then, I became very worried that the cherished boomerang will come to me. What about the ring? Was it really magic? Could it grant wishes? Glafira sighed and rubbed her temples. The ring was magic. Some powerful witch had put her powers on it, so once I put it on, I couldn't take it off. It became my master. Turns out it was the other way around. I didn't control it, it controlled me. How? I had a huge fight with Veronica. I took Anthony away from her. We bought a big apartment in the capital, but God wouldn't let us have kids. I guess the ring didn't want it. Anthony was looking forward to having children, but he never did. In a few years, our life together turned into hell. I abandoned the university a long time ago. I began to practice black magic and even found success in this business. I didn't like it all very much, but the ring decided everything for me. Veronica, meanwhile, got a new fiancé. They got married. They had you and another younger girl, your sister. Strangely enough, she didn't have the powers you had. But she lived many happy years, enjoying everyday moments. I shall never have that luxury, alas. And what happened next? Catherine asked with interest. Further worse. Anthony left me to a young girl topsy-turvy. I was left all alone. No friends, no husband, no family. Everyone dismissed me as a leper. There were already rumors going around the city that I was not to be messed with. One day I was walking in the park, hoping to find some way to get rid of the ring. Can you believe it? I didn't have the strength to take it off. It was like it was part of me. And then I saw Vera on one of the benches. She was rocking her stroller and humming something to herself. When she saw me, she smiled. "Hi, how are you?" she asked me. I replied that it could be better and told my ex-girlfriend my story. That's weird. Veronica was surprised then. Do you seriously believe in this nonsense? I then got very angry with her and began to shout that your mother is a fool, does not understand anything about magic. Veronica just smiled back. You're very unhappy, I can see that. But the ring has no power over you. Give it to me and go away. You'll see. This object won't stop you. The ring came off surprisingly easily. I quickly gave it to my friend and ran away. It was like a stone fell from my heart. Vera now had the ill-fated ring. So she threw it away? Catherine asked, biting her lip. No, answered Glafira quietly. The ring found a new victim with the same gift as mine. Verochka has lived a very difficult life. She lost her children. Your younger sister, Victoria, ran away from home when she was 16, all because it was impossible to be at home. Veronica became a real black sorceress. Your father died of a heart attack. It's not time yet, Glafira repeated for the third time. Not soon, believe me. Veronica will be much more vulnerable. Your sister. Ah. Catherine only now remembered that the witch had said something about her sister, Victoria. She doesn't remember anything at all. Could these migraines and dark silhouettes be echoes of the past? Victoria must die, Glafira continued, rubbing the corner of the tablecloth. What? What is this nonsense? No way, jumped Catherine. I still want to see her. You have no right to talk like that. Glafura got up slowly and went to a cupboard standing close to the window. She opened it and rummaged through it for a long time. After a few minutes, she placed the contents of the cupboard on the table where Catherine was sitting. A black wax candle, tarot cards, and worst of all, a straw doll. "Don't be afraid. I won't spoil you," she smiled, noticing Catherine's pale face. "I need to think." The witch laid out the cards in a certain order. In the middle put the doll and lit a black candle. The room lit up with a mysterious flickering light. The witch whispered something for a long time, looking at the candle. Then she took the doll and gently pressed her fingernail directly on its head. It was the first time Catherine had seen such a ritual, and she was frightened. But the fear gave way to a desire to know the truth and help her son. It must have been hours when Glafira finally extinguished the candle. "Daughter, your life is hard enough as it is, but you have to make sacrifices. Your sister's death is written on her fate line. There's no escaping it. So accept this news without anger. She's been ill for a long time. She has cancer, so death will free her from her torment. And the mother Veronica will be much weaker with Victoria gone. I'm sorry to tell you all this." Tears glistened in Catherine's eyes. Just yesterday, she was living an ordinary life, struggling with seizures, getting treatment, raising her son. She knew absolutely nothing about her past life, although she wanted to know so badly. And now everything is turned upside down. All the women in her family are witches. The sister she doesn't remember must have passed away long before they met. And Glafira assures her that she can't escape from fate. What nonsense. "Ekaterina, I believe you can't decide anything now. Here." Glafira handed the woman a pouch that smelled fragrant. "This is a tea for your pains. With these, the shadows will become clearer and you can see the future. When you're ready, I'll give you your mother's address." "I'm ready. Right now," Catherine exclaimed. "Give me the address." But Glafira shook her head negatively. "You are not ready. Need to be calm and sober-minded. Go home for now. Remember, your son mustn't know anything about his relatives. They'll drive him to his grave." Catherine woke up near an abandoned brick factory. How the woman got to the building, she did not remember at all. In the head, rarely it was clear, and there was no pain. Catherine quickly walked toward the house. Max did not like to wander around the village, did not want to draw attention to himself. But today his mother asked him to go shopping, so he should. One more time he'd see people pointing fingers at him. He'll hear the giggles behind him. That's fine. Time to get used to it. The fat, sullen saleswoman crossed her arms over her chest. "Well, how long are you going to choose?" "I need to get the goods," she said unhappily. "I want that milk and 10 eggs. Do you have bread?" asked the guy, shuffling from foot to foot. The saleswoman snorted angrily. "No, of course not. You should have come earlier. The bread is always gone by evening." "I see," Max replied. He paid for the eggs and milk and ran out of the store. Why is she so disgusting? Angelica is nothing like her mother. She's so thin, graceful, beautiful. Angelica's mother wouldn't want her child dating a white raven. That's fine. Let it be what it is. The boy walked along the curb. His classmates were going to the evening party near the local club. Max never went there. "Hey, Popper," John yelled and whistled. "What are you carrying in your bag?" "Hello to you, too," Max muttered. "I'm carrying what I need." "Look at that asshole," John laughed. He looked like a huge goose with red eyes. "Guys, he wants to go to the hospital again." "All right, John, grab him." A girl came out of the crowd. "Come on, don't touch him. Let him go on his way." "What are you doing?" Angelica, sticking up for him. "Did you think it over? You have to put people like him in their place, or he opened his mittens and does not know that in the elite must be silent." Max resolutely bypassed the noisy crowd and was about to go further, but he was stopped by a strong blow in the back. The boy fell. "Johan, enough." "Angelica, stay out of this. You'll get it too, I promise you." "I said leave the man alone." Max was face down in the mud, afraid to get up. "You don't hit a man when he's lying down." "Well, you goat," came John's indignant voice. "Are you my chief or not? You're supposed to listen to me." "Fuck you." Max clearly heard Angelica's shout and quickly stood up. A crowd of classmates were yelling. Someone was filming everything on their phone. How predictable. A pack of hyenas laughing while they beat up their friend. John stood with his arms crossed over his chest, while Angelica lay head down. "Well, are you sure you're going to defend this one?" he asked the crying girl. "You're drunk," she yelled. John laughed and kicked the girl with his foot. She screamed in pain. Max couldn't take it anymore. He clearly realized that he would probably die in this unequal battle. But Angelica had suffered at the hands of this freak. His secret love was now lying in a puddle like a rag doll. "I'm going to kill you," whispered Max. "Oh, it's up," yelled John, all red with excitement. He looked like a huge bull ready to pummel everyone with his horns. "Stop touching her. You." Max struck first, but the mountain of fat and muscle didn't even budge. "Brawst, attack. This little thing wants to die," John yelled. But the crowd froze at the sight. Angelica stood all dirty and wet with tears and water. She was trembling. Max, also wrinkled, froze with clenched fists and a determined look. "Well, why are we standing?" The mountain was surprised. "I do not understand." "Borka, you're overreacting." "Boria, let's go." "Leave them." "Let's go." "Calm down." "What?" John yelled. "So you're with me? Well, watch me kill this one, you freak. Don't you dare close your eyes." Angelica sobbed. But Max was the first to hit the mountain. The forces were unequal. One more moment, and the guy stopped feeling anything. Max did not see how part of the crowd rushed to John and began to defend the weak. John was yelling and fighting back. Angelica didn't even try to run away. Her legs didn't carry the girl. It was hurt and painful. She sat under a tree and cried. The guy woke up in the hospital. Every cell was aching. "I wanted to die." Max groaned and turned his head toward the window. "Sonny, you scared me. Are you okay?" Mom said. "Mom, I'm fine. It just hurts." A warm hand lay on the boy's head. Catherine cried quietly. "My boy, they put them in the children's police room. There they will deal with them." If it had not been for the district police officer who passed by the road in time, there is no telling what would have happened. "Why did you fight with Borka?" Max whispered quietly. "Mom, he hurt Angelica, his girlfriend." "Angelica? Oh yes, she came to see you. She's waiting in the hallway. Shall I call her?" "What?" Max was surprised. He wanted to get up on the bed, but his mother stopped him. "Where? You can't get up. You have a broken rib. She'll be right in." The mother went out the door, and a minute later Angelica entered the room. On her thin shoulders fluttered a white medical coat. "Well, hello, Daredevil," she sighed. "Didn't your mother tell you that you are a fool? You found someone to fight with. He could have killed you." "Hi," Max said excitedly. "You better tell me, how are you doing? Did he beat you badly?" The girl sighed. "There are a few bruises, but it's no big deal. John is in the children's room of the police, you know." "Yeah, justice was served." "Max, where's the justice? Now his parents are dealing with everything. Soon he'll be out and he'll be climbing again." Max sighed. Of course, such news is not happy, but Angelica around is cool. She talks to him so gently, wondering how he's doing. Even a broken rib is worth it. I know. The girl leaned over him so low that Max felt Angelica's breath. "You were protecting me because you like me." Those words, like lightning, burned through Max's entire body. He didn't answer and glared at the ceiling. "You don't have to answer," Angelica smiled. "I've known that for a long time. You're not very handsome, but you're brave. I like that kind of guy. So I'll be waiting for you at school. And don't stay in the hospital too long." Unexpectedly, Angelica leaned over Max and kissed him on the cheek. With another smile, she scurried out the door. Max wanted to smile, but couldn't. His battered face ached. His mother entered the room again. Her face expressed both concern and curiosity. "Mom, don't ask anything. It's just that I defended her. A classmate came to thank me." "Son, you should see yourself now," laughed Catherine. "Eyes give away everything." "Angelica you like?" Max nodded. "Well, she is very polite and pretty, but her mother is a bit of a bitch. You're all grown up now, son." The mother petted her son. He lay there replaying Angelique's innocent kiss. It had been several months since Max had gotten out of the hospital. His ribs and leg were still aching and constantly making themselves known. So the boy studied at home. Angelica brought him his assignments. It was warm May. Final exams were approaching. Max had no time to be distracted by anything else but preparation for the final exams. Angelica also tried. They wanted to enter the same technical school in the district center. Catherine was happy for her son that blossomed and became much more confident. Between him and Angelica began a relationship. At first, the girl hesitated, a little afraid that the collective will laugh. But classmates, strangely enough, were on the side of the girl. John was already out of favor. Everyone already knew that the rich parents paid for the guy to be released. They even offered money to Catherine for her to withdraw the application. The mother refused the money, but she took the application. The headaches no longer tormented the woman. Every day, as Glafira had told her, she brewed aromatic tea and drank it with pleasure. Max, of course, asked what it was, but Catherine lied. She said it was a special sedative for headaches. The son was incredibly pleased when he learned that his mother no longer suffers from migraines. Catherine had been nurturing what she had learned from the witch in the dark forest. She waited for some sign from Glafira. It's hard to sit and wait, knowing that somewhere lives a mother. The woman began to dream strange dreams more and more often. Here she is driving on a deserted road. A woman sits behind the wheel. She smiles and says she's been dreaming of this trip all her life. But her eyes are empty. Catherine had often wished that she had dreamed this dream. How she longed to look at those features again. They seemed so familiar. But every time the dream ended the same. Catherine lies in the pouring rain on the road, next to the smoking car, and the woman laughs and goes into the darkness. Further, the picture is obscured by other shadows that whisper something. Max noticed that something was wrong with his mother. She too often answers uncomprehending questions, sits at the table with an absent look. "Mom, are you okay?" he asked her once. "Maybe it's time to finish that tea of yours." "Son, I'm fine, just tired," answered the mother and squeezed out a smile. Then she went back to her thoughts. It was a hot day. Landers was bathed in greenery and freshness. Max and Angelica were walking near a lake with clear water. The girl was taking pictures of the landscape. "A little bit more and it will be possible to swim," summarized Max, taking his bare feet out of the cool water. "Aha," Angelica mumbled, pointing the lens at the horizon line. "I swim like an axe." Max raised his eyebrows in surprise. "I thought you could do everything." "That's okay, I'll teach you." Angelica smiled, but then her face stretched. Quietly, she shushed Max. He was just about to say something to the girl. "Look over there." Max carefully looked where the girl pointed her finger. An old woman in a nightgown was standing near the cliff. "Max, that's our Katie. Let's go to her." They ran as fast as they could toward the cliff. The woman looked confused. She looked at the couple as if she was seeing them for the first time. "Grandma, what are you doing here?" Max took her under his arm affectionately. Angelica froze. "And who will you be, son?" The woman smiled at him. Her gaze was not focused on a specific target. "Don't you remember? I'm Max." The guy shook the old woman. "Remember?" Katie suddenly shoved Max away from her. Angelica gasped in surprise. "You're a witch's brat," Kathy growled angrily, "and your mother is a witch. You should have kicked her out of the village a long time ago." "What are you talking about?" the boy exclaimed. "Hey!" The woman scrutinized the boy. "You don't look like your mother, you look like your grandmother. The same nose, eyes, face. And that look, scorching." The old woman's eyes were finally able to focus. She looked straight into Max's face. Her gaze was blank. The guy was scared shitless. "Angelica, let's take her to the hospital. She's obviously not in good health," he whispered to the girl. She nodded fearfully, but took the old woman under her arm and tried to lead her away from the dangerous place. The cliff was high, and it was possible to crash on the sharp ledges before reaching the water. Katie yanked her arm out sharply and shrieked, "Let me die in peace. Go on your way. Max, your mother didn't tell you anything, but she's a real witch. She went to Glafira and she told her the truth. I know her because I followed your mother that night. I knew she was an evil force, and you are its fruit. Ugh." She turned sharply to Angelica. "Run away, girl. Run away from him. You're in great danger. He'll kill you." The old woman began to tear her hair out. She broke free from Max's grasp and threw herself off the cliff. A second, and there was a deafening splash. The echo of her scream was still in the air. Angelica sat down on the ground and screamed in terror. Max ran to the cliff below and saw a doll's body gently circling in the lake. "So much for swimming," he whispered. "Max, let's get out of here." Angelica trembled like an aspen leaf in the wind. They hurried out of the scary place. Max hugged Angelica, but she could not cope well with her condition. "Max, let's go to the police," she whispered, "I should say." "Yes, let's go," supported her boyfriend. When they left the station, Angelica said goodbye to Max and decided to go home. "I'm sorry, I can't," she cried. The guy hugged her. "I understand. Go home." "I need to ask my mother. What if Katie's delusions aren't delusions at all, but the truth?" Angelica nodded, and they went their separate ways. Catherine sat at home and watched television. The machine, which showed only black and white images, was not working well today. But Catherine was in her thoughts. The silence was interrupted by a loud rumble in the hallway. The woman jumped up and went into the room. On the threshold stood the son. "Max, are you out of your mind?" "I'm sorry, Mom. Accidentally caught the hanger. I'll fix it." "How's Angelica? Did you go for a walk?" "Yeah," quietly answered the guy. Catherine looked up. Something was wrong in his voice. "Something wrong, son?" "Mom, Katie threw herself off a cliff." "What? What?" Catherine approached her son. He stood with his head down. We were walking with Angelica by the lake, and then she saw that Katie was standing near the cliff in her nightie. It was weird. We went over to her. She started screaming something weird. I thought she was crazy." "What was she saying, Max?" the woman asked. Her hands were shaking. Katie had always been good to her, helping her through a difficult situation. "What made her throw herself off a cliff?" "Well, she said I was the son of a witch. That like, you're a witch. That I didn't know a lot of things. And that Angelica would die because of me." "What could that mean?" Catherine slowly sat down in the chair. Her mind was chaotically flickering between whether to say something or not. But how did Catherine know what Glafira was talking about? Everything is extremely strange. "Son," Catherine began slowly, "I know you can't believe it right now. But Kathy was right. I did indeed recognize that I have a gift. But I don't know how to deal with it. Hence my headaches. I went to the witch, and she told me everything." "Bullshit," Max shouted. "What are you talking about, May? That old, out of her mind, old woman told you about her crazy fantasies." "No," stubbornly said Catherine. "I have after her magic potion headache stopped. Migraines no longer torment." "Where is this tea?" Max ran around the room looking for a bag. "Give it to me. You're imagining things." "Max, stop it." "Yes, we were at the old soccer field for a walk. You know Angelica likes to take pictures of everything. So we went for a walk." "Mom, it's okay." Catherine looked carefully at his son. It seemed that she did not quite trust the guy. "Mom, I'm telling you, everything is fine. I'm terribly hungry and sleepy, trying to look cheerful and carefree," said Max. "Will you feed your son?" Catherine caught up, fussed around her son. The evening ended with a joint review of the movie on the old player. Max found the equipment at the flea market. The guy sat next to his mother, who enthusiastically commented on each scene of his favorite series. "The main thing, to find money for tickets. And don't tell my mother. She won't let me go. It's only a little bit left to pass exams to get a certificate. And then go ahead on the search for Granny." The schoolyard was buzzing. Today is the last exam. And freedom. No more homework to do. No more coming early to school. The sun was pleasing with its warmth. Girls dressed up in thin white blouses and smart skirts. Guys, at the sight of such beauties, threw their crowning jokes and fooled around, wanting to attract the attention of the girls. Angelica and Max stood far away from everyone. They had long been called Romeo and Juliet by everyone in the class. And there was some truth in those names, taken from Shakespeare's famous play. The parents of the couple didn't want the children to meet. More precisely, did not want Selena, Angelica's mother. As the woman had promised, she didn't sell groceries to Catherine. "Go somewhere else, you fool," she yelled when she saw Catherine walking toward the store. Max had to go to the district center for shopping himself, but he even enjoyed it. Angelica ran away from home, despite her mother's threats to sit chained up, and the couple walked around, enjoying their new surroundings. Well, that's it. Fixing Angelica's curled set behind the horizon, listen to the birds singing. The field smelled of hay and alfalfa, and somewhere in the distance a rooster crowed. Max loved his village, no matter what. He waited for Angelica and remembered how with his mother they used to go for forest berries in the same warm evenings, picking mushrooms in damp ravines. The boy was no longer afraid of the dark or spiders. He knew that by the location of moss on the trees, you can find out where the north is and get out of any forest thicket if you got lost in the forest paths. But now the forest breathed a thaw, a death on the boy. Somewhere out there, in the thick bushes, stands a hut, and there's a witch in it, and her soul is wandering around. Hi, Angelica covered the guy's eyes, quietly coming up behind him. Angelica, don't scare me like that. Max jerked in surprise. How is your mother? Let her in. Let her try not to let her in. The girl threatened the void with her finger and laughed. So where shall we go? Let's go to our lawn, said the boy. They wandered slowly. Clothes clung to the tall grass. Angelica gently pressed against the guy and was silent. I want to be yours tonight, she suddenly blurted out. What do you mean? Max asked. You're strange today. Listen, my mother scolds me all the time, recently even raised her hand. I want to dot all the I's and dot all the T's, to tell her that we've already had everything, that I'm not a virgin. Oh, there you go. Well, you could just tell her. That's all. Lie. Max, Angelica sighed. Your favorite girl offers herself to you, and you're stupid. The guy put his arm around Angelica. They stood for a long time, watching the sun set behind the horizon. It was gradually getting darker. The shepherds were shouting as they drove the cattle into the village from the pasture. People. Murdered. They killed the witch. A woman screamed nearby. Max and Angelica froze in place. Someone had gone to the old woman for a potion and found a breathless body. Max, Angelica said quietly, let's go and hear what people are saying. They rushed quickly. The grass stiffened their movements. Angelica was out of breath. People were already gathering on the main street of Landers. In the center of the crowd stood Selena, Angelica's mother. She was wringing her hands and shouting, the witch has been killed. Do you realize what's going to happen now? Her soul will take vengeance on everyone. She was a black witch, wasn't she? Who did this? The people. Everyone was silent. The men waved their hands. Women cried. The witch was not loved, but respected. The old woman was able to heal many people with the help of her herbs and potions. Who could have done it? The old woman didn't bother anyone. Whose hands were itching? There was outrage in the crowd. Someone shouted, well, thank God. Now the witch will be brought before the court to be fried in a frying pan. Ha! Shut up, you old goat, Celine cursed. She had already stopped wailing and now listened to what people were saying. People, we should probably go to the police. Maybe she didn't hit her head on that corner, Selena suggested. Come on, we need a collective statement. Sign for me, because I can't spell. Evan, the local drunk shouted. Polka, how did you find the witch? Did you go to her to pray for your sins? Giggled one of the young women. It's none of your business, said the fat one. Shut your mouth. Catherine also came to the crowd. What happened here? She asked Evdokia, the local gossip. Somebody killed a witch. Apparently, she didn't guess as well as she should. Catherine was dizzy with surprise. No way. Gladfara promised to give the address of her witch grandmother when the time came. Now it was all gone. The woman gripped her head with her hands. Max saw his mother in the crowd and hurried out of sight. He and Angelica quickly separated from the main mass of people and walked down the main street. What will happen now? Angelica asked quietly, what if my mother files a police report? We'll go to jail. The house is full of our fingerprints. That's why we have to get out of here. We'll go to Chicago to look for my grandmother, Max said firmly. He furrowed his brow and thought, we need to pack up and run at the crack of dawn. Are you okay with me? Angelica shrank into a ball. I wish her mother had noticed. I'll go through her things, see if I can find some money. That's good. I know where my mother's stash is. She hides all of her savings in the linen closet. I'll take some. Try to take less stuff you don't need. Meet me at the bus stop at dawn. I'll wait till the last possible moment. If you don't show up, I'll drive myself." Angelica sobbed. Good. If only everything would work out. Max walked the girl to the gate and kissed her. "Even if it doesn't work out, I'll come home to you. I love you." Mother wasn't home yet. Apparently, she'd stayed with the other Landers at the council meeting. The kitchen was clean and smelled of soup. Max ate and went to his mother's room. He easily found an envelope of money. Without counting, took a small amount of bills and stuffed it into his pants pocket. In the bedroom, Max paced frantically from corner to corner thinking about what to take with him on the road. How good it was that he and Angelica were already 18 years old. No one would bother them on the road. Where are you going? And where are your parents? The guy found his old hiking backpack and began to collect things: passport, money, phone charger, underwear, a few pants and sweaters, socks. I hadn't forgotten about the witch's notebook. He looked around like everything. The boy hid the backpack under the bed and began to write a note to his mother. "My sweet mom, I'm sorry to make you worry. Angelica and I have left. Don't look for us. The time will come we will come back on our own. The only thing I want is to know more about our family. Bye, Ma. I love you very much." Max put the note under the night lamp. He was about to go to bed when an excited Catherine came into the room. "Are you still awake?" she asked and carefully adjusted Max's blanket. "No, Mom. How are you?" "I'm fine. How was the last exam? Did you pass?" "Yes. You know I'm your excellent." Catherine smiled. "Well done. I knew that you will do well. And then how? It's already time to think about enrollment." Max hesitated. "Yeah, what kind of admission is there?" "Not today. Tomorrow a criminal case would be opened against the witch, and he and Angelica would probably become the main suspects. If only his mother knew." "Mom, I haven't decided yet." "It is necessary to go to the capital," decisively said his mother. "There are more opportunities for you. You won't live in such poverty like me." "Mom, stop lecturing me. I want to sleep." "Yes, son, I'm going to bed now. By the way, do you know what happened in the village?" "No." Max lied. "What happened?" "Alcoholics at the store fighting over a bottle again. Our witch was sent to the other world," said Catherine with obvious bitterness in her voice. "Can you imagine? Who was she bothering?" Max felt that his face was thickly flushed. It was good that the room was dark. "Wow, that's really weird. I thought she lived in the middle of the woods. Who was she bothering?" "Look, Mom. I mean, the village women used to go to her. I mean, even Selena, Mother. I know from Angelica that woman used to go there a lot. Maybe she killed her." "Not likely." Catherine shook her head. "Selena was very upset about Glafira's death. I understand they had a good relationship." "Yes." "Then why is Selena treating you badly? You're a witch now too, aren't you?" Catherine sighed and stood up. "Okay, I'll leave you alone. You're tired. Rest. Good night, son. And you good night, Mom. I love you very much." Catherine smiled and went out. "Good sweet mommy, if only you didn't get sick with grief after I leave for the unknown," thought Max, staring at the ceiling. The moon was shining very brightly tonight. Tree branches and moonlight created a real theater of shadows on the walls and ceiling of the bedroom. Max fell asleep only in the morning. The morning met Max with thick fog and coolness. The guy stood at the bus stop and listened to the morning rustles. Nature was waking up little by little. Roosters were crowing in the village. People were leading cows to pasture. "Well, where are you? Didn't you get away? The bus will be here soon." Max gazed into the thick fog, hoping to catch a glimpse of Angelica's familiar, graceful figure. In the distance, he heard the rumble of a bus. "Angelica!" Max shouted into the void. "Max, I'm here. I'm running." Phew, here she is, so sleepy and disheveled. She's carrying a huge backpack. Max rushed over and gave her a big hug. "I thought you weren't coming." "It's done," Angelica said cheerfully. The bus, slowly rattling rusty parts, pulled up to the stop. Max and Angelica quickly got in and took seats at the very end of the cabin. The driver looked at them curiously. "What, young people? Have you passed your exams? Now you can go for a walk, right? Where is my youth?" The bus drove along the main road of the village and got on the highway. "Goodbye, my native home. Angelica looked at it with a hazy look. We'll come back here again. Max put his arm around her shoulders. When things calm down and I find my grandmother, I'll bring her here to my mother. The bus took them quickly to the district center. Max found the ticket office. 2 tickets to Chicago, please. No problem, just show your passports, young people, said the strict cashier. I had to pull out my documents. Angelica's passport was at the bottom of her backpack. I was so afraid that I would forget about it that I put the passport in the first place. The girl smiled. The tickets were bought. All that was left was to wait. Angelica bought a pie at the cafe, and they found a cozy place in the farthest corner of the waiting room. Angelica was visibly worried. When she saw the police patrol, she hid her head in her shoulders. Max, police. The guy looked in the direction of the patrol. The officers were strolling calmly and talking about something cheerfully. Calm down. Eat better. It's a long drive. He kissed the girl on the lips. She calmed down a little. It was a long drive to Chicago. It took several days. Behind the windows, the steppe and forest were gradually replaced by factories and residential neighborhoods. Angelica was always dozing. It was her first big road into the unknown. Chicago met the couple with its shouting, noise, and clamor. The station was moving. People were seeing them off, greeting them. Noisy food vendors moved nimbly in this clattering hive of activity. Max, where to next? Angelica asked. We're going to look for the street. I hope Grandma isn't dead yet. Max and Angelica asked local vendors for directions to the address. There was an old streetcar running past Max's grandmother's house. It was a long ride. The driver waved his hand in the distance. The 23rd house is a little farther away. Go ahead. There will be a house on the left. You won't be mistaken. Max walked ahead and his heart twitched. I wonder how grandmother will react to unexpected guests, he thought. Angelica was tiredly shuffling her feet behind her, and the boy took the heavy backpack from her. The house at number 23 was quite old, but it was drowning in flowers. There were roses, daisies, peonies, and gladioluses proudly stretching out their heads everywhere you looked. Beautiful, Angelica said. She looked around the house with delight. There was a bell on the gate. Max pressed the button a few times and music was heard in the house. I'm coming. Who came here so early? A woman came out on the porch. She looked to be about 40 years old at most. She looked at Max and Angelica with interest. What do you want, young people? Good afternoon, began Max. Does Veronica Stone live here? Yes, here, answered the woman, but she is asleep now and doesn't see anyone. Come back later. Max hesitated. We're here to see her about a very personal matter. I may be her grandson. Let us come in, please. The woman sighed. All right, relatives, come in. You've got 'em on my head. The old woman said she had no one. Her daughter died of cancer recently. She didn't mention anyone else. Daughter? Does that mean my possible aunt? Thought Max and went into the yard. The house was quiet and very clean. It smelled of medicine. Veronica has been ill for a very long time, the woman said quietly. I'm looking after her. She promised me the house. By the way, she must be awake by now. I'll go check on her. Max, I'm scared, Angelica hissed. She looked around anxiously, like a hunted animal. The guy put a finger to her lips and smiled. The woman came out of the bedroom. The landlady wants to see you urgently, she said in surprise. Go yourself, Angelica muttered, and Max nodded in agreement. It was stuffy in the bedroom, despite the open window. On the small bed lay a skinny old woman. She seemed to be glowing through and through. Max's attention was drawn to Veronica's eyes, which were black as coals. The old woman smiled with her toothless mouth and gestured for the boy to sit on a chair near her bed. I've been told that a relative has come to see me. Who are you going to be? Stone Max, your own grandson. The old lady lost her sweet smile. Her mouth is rounded. You're Catherine's son. Yes, the only one. The old woman was silent. Her eyes alone studied Max from head to toe. How did you find me? A sorceress gave me the address. Glafara, Veronica asked. Yes. Well, if you're here, then Glafara is no longer alive. Don't be afraid of me, grandson. I'm a witch too. Glafara must have told you. That's why I know and see everything. I won't give you and your friend up. Don't worry. You didn't mean it. Grandma, why didn't you look for us? Max asked. The old woman furrowed her brow and twirled the ring on her finger. It caught the boy's eye at once, thin, elegant, with a red ruby. There was a reason for that. You see, we witches are not so simple in life. Sometimes you have to part with your family for their good. How's your mother? Is she like me? Does she do this? Max shook his head. No, not yet. I don't want her to. People drove our witch into the forest. I don't want my mother to live there. Son, that depends on your mom. How she'll handle herself in the village. If she wants to, everyone will come to her for help on their knees. If she doesn't want to, they'll chase her away. The old woman closed her eyes and took a breath. It was hard for her to talk. I have devoted my whole life to sorcery. Everyone was drawn to me. I helped everyone. And now they come to me when I'm in good health. You can't survive in this world without magic, grandson. Sometimes ordinary pills don't help, but a kind word and the support of spirits work wonders. Max smiled. Tell me, did you come alone? No, with my girlfriend. She is sitting in the other room. The old woman smiled. Well done. I knew the stones were masters of lovemaking, except my Vittoria didn't get to be happy. She died of cancer. Veronica dropped a tear. You know, she continued, I don't have much time left. My greatest secret to success in life is this ring. The old lady showed Max that dainty ring. And how does it help you? It grants all my wishes. You know, I recently wished for you to find me. See? You're here, so the ring is working. The old lady took a little breath and continued. I know that you and your girlfriend have a very good relationship. Isn't it time for you to get married? You're completely right for each other. Well, we haven't gotten together yet. Max began longingly, but Veronica interrupted him. Grandson, I'm so looking forward to catching your wedding. My life has turned out so that I spent more time on other people's problems, and there was no energy left for my family. Would you please make your grandmother happy? I will bequeath your fiancé my ring. The old woman breathed deeply again. All right. Go now. Get some rest. Barbara, take the young people to the guest room, please. I want to rest. The room was very cozy. Max fell on the bed with pleasure and pulled Angelica with him. They hugged each other and fell asleep. Max woke up to someone tugging on his shoulder. It was Barbara in her nightie. She was crying. Veronica, dead. Max quickly sat up on the bed. I went into her room and she looked at me so pitifully and said, I can't breathe at all. When I die, let Max take my ring and give it to his bride. There's a lot of power in that ring. And she said that and gave up her last breath. Barbara sobbed. Max woke Angelica. It took her a long time to realize where she was. Grandmother is dead, Max whispered. Oh no, Angelica cried. How awful. Max got dressed and quickly went into the old lady's bedroom. She looked very much like Glafira. It seemed that Veronica had just fallen asleep. The guy stroked her hair and hands. Goodbye, Grandma. I found you and lost you. The funeral was scheduled for tomorrow. Max, along with Barbara, was in charge of organizing the funeral. Angelica was in charge of the wake. Barbara said a lot of people would come. Veronica had healed almost half the town. Before the funeral, Max went into the deceased's room to say goodbye alone. That's it, Grandma. He kissed Veronica on the forehead. His gaze fell on the ring on her skinny finger. I'll do as you asked, the young man whispered. He carefully removed the ring from his grandmother's hand and went to Angelica. Strangely, it seemed to Max that the ring burned his hands with something hot, even though it was cold to the touch. Angelica was standing in the kitchen. She was writing something on a piece of paper. Honey, I have a very important conversation with you. Max gently hugged the girl and kissed her. I know this is not a good time. I asked for your hand. He held out his grandmother's ring to Angelica. It sparkled ominously, exuding a tantalizing glow. Max, don't answer anything yet. Just put it on and think about it. I'm not rushing you. I just love you very much. Veronica asked me very much that you wear the ring. It's a family heirloom. Max, I can't accept it. You what? It must be so expensive and valuable. And if I lose it? The guy kissed the girl and carefully put the ring on Angelica's ring finger. We'll be all right now, he said confidently. Veronica was buried by the whole town. A lot of people gathered. Everyone carried flowers and wreaths. Angelica was with Max the whole time. She was very pale. Many people came to the wake at the old witch's house. Angelica and Barbara served plates of pancakes, pies, memorial cutia. It was only towards evening that the young people were able to breathe out. Angelica lay on the bed and breathed heavily. Max looked at her anxiously. "My dear, are you not feeling well?" "Yes, I guess the road and all the packing for the funeral have affected me. I'm going to get some sleep, okay?" "Sure, I'll lie down with you." Angelica fell asleep quickly. Max tossed and turned all night. He had nightmares. The morning greeted him with cold and anxiety. Angelica lay next to him without moving. She was unconscious. "Angelique? Angelica." Max shook the girl vigorously. "Angelica. Barbara." Angelica is not regaining consciousness. Barbara slowly entered the room. Surprisingly, she was very calm. "She's not going to regain consciousness." "Barbara, what are you talking about?" "What?" "Angelica, wake up." Barbara's face contorted with a grimace of triumph. The mistress was right. Now the ring was destroyed, it would never hurt anyone again. All her life, she couldn't part with it. It was waiting only for her, your bride. Max stared at the woman in horror. "This is crazy. Call an ambulance now." Angelica lay there like a wax doll. Her heart was no longer beating. Max frantically remembered Glafira, the way she laid out the dolls, one of them with a needle in her heart. Was it really a joint cunning plan of the sorceresses? His head spun and Max stopped feeling anything. No. Max jumped up on the bed and looked around in horror. There was no one in the bed but him. The sun was shining brightly through the window, and birds were singing through the open window. The room smelled of freshness and lavender. It was strange. He'd been mourning Angelica a second ago, and Barbara was standing over him, laughing wickedly. Where had it all gone? The boy stood up and found his clothes. He dressed quickly and went into the kitchen. Around the table, 2 children, a girl and a boy, were frolicking. They were noisily chasing a black kitten. He meowed pitifully and hid under the table. There was a girl standing by the stove. "Angelica. Angelica, are you?" With a convulsive sigh, Max asked the girl. "Jesus, I saw you dead. You weren't breathing." A haunting thought ran through his head. The girl turned around. It was Angelica, but a little different, more mature or something. "Max, I've told you 100 times to stop taking sleeping pills. You're already hallucinating." "Of course it's me." She laughed and hugged the guy. "And these are these our children?" "Yes, my love. Meet Kirill. And there's Olzia." "And are we married?" Angelica looked anxiously at Max. "Are you all right? No fever?" "We've been married for several years, and I gave you 2 beautiful children." Max froze. How? So a few years had just slipped his mind. But he clearly remembered the day when Angelica did not come to her senses. She was lying there so helpless. And here in front of him, in an unfamiliar apartment, stands a completely different Angelica, cheerful, energetic. "Angelica, do you remember how we went to Veronica, my grandmother?" The girl raised her eyebrows. "Okay, get ready. I don't like you at all. Now we'll send the little ones to daycare and go to the doctor." "Veronica who?" Angelica reached out to touch Max's forehead, and on her ring finger glittered a thin, dainty ruby ring, the one the old woman had bequeathed to Max before she died. Max felt completely different. He was like the doll that Glafira had molded out of wax, a whole new life, a stranger, though familiar, a wife, children. Who was he? Where was the lapse in memory? Watching his wife gather the children in the garden, Max thought, maybe it was a dream? And have I always lived here? I didn't have a mother, only a grandmother. What nonsense! Where is the line between reality and a dream? Veronica's ring had done its work. It hasn't lost any of its ability to find a new victim. It's up to you to decide what's fiction and what's reality. But the ring still travels from master to master, building the illusion of a happy family it kills from within.